The men are supposed to rule in their households, and they're supposed to rule the government. They're supposed to have everything in order from their wives on down. So they said, look, this is going to cause a domino effect if the king's own wife don't listen to him. Right, go ahead.
For this deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women, so that they shall despise their husbands in their eyes.
Right, so the women going to despise their husband. I ain't got to listen to my husband either. All right? You have a feminist movement in the Persian Empire. All right, go ahead.
When it shall be reported, the king Xerxes commanded Vashti the queen to be brought in before him, but she came not.
She said, no, I'm not going before the king. All right, just straight rebelled against her husband. The most powerful man in the empire, and she rebelled against him. Right, go ahead.
Likewise shall the ladies of Persia and Media say this day unto all the king's princes, which have heard of the deed of the queen. Thus shall there arise too much contempt and wrath.
Right, it's going to be too much problems in the households in the empire. Men and women going to be getting into arguments. Right, then here comes domestic violence and fighting and possibly somebody getting seriously hurt or killed. You know how bad domestic violence can be. You know what happens when somebody dies, especially a person over a certain age? They look at the spouse first. All right, they feel. All right, just put it. That's mine. Mm-hmm. All right, just put it in the room. All right, just when y'all's are ready, just get dressed. All right, so what's going to happen is going to be too much confusion in the empire. All right, go ahead.
If it please the king, let there go a royal commandment from him, and let it be written among the laws of Persia and Medes, that it not be altered, that Vashti come no more before the king of Xerxes, and let the king give her royal estate unto another that is better than she.
Right, in other words, let the king seek out another bride that's going to be obedient to him. Right, you don't, he's like, look, my wife don't respect me. She's rebellious. She don't respect me. That will cause a man to say, look, I need a wife that's respectful and submissive. Right, because if you don't have a wife that don't respect you, that's with anything. You got a friend, a partner, somebody don't respect you, what do you want to have them around you for? You know what I'm saying? That makes no sense. You're going to have nothing but drama all your life. Right? So he was like, look, my wife don't respect me. Replace her with a woman that's going to be submissive and respect me. All right, go ahead.
And when the king decree, which shall he make, shall be published throughout all his empire, for it is great, all the wives shall give to their husbands honor, both to great and small.
So he said, look, make it a law, make it a decree throughout the empire that the wives have to give respect to their husbands, great and small. Even if it's a lowly man that's not in a position of leadership or power. It could be one of the everyday working men in the empire. That wife still have to respect him. It can be one of the king's top men or the king himself. The wife have to respect him. So they made it a law because it was real bad what the queen did. All right, go ahead.
And the same pleased the king and the princes, and the king did according to the word of Memucan. For he sent letters into all the king's provinces, and to every province according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language, that every man should bear rule in his own house.
Right, now what?
That every man should bear rule in his own house.
Right, so he said, listen, we're going to make it a law in the land that the man is the ruler of the household. All right, go ahead.
And that it should be published according to the language of every people.
Right, because the Persians was in power. They had all other nations, subject to them, under them. Right, so go to chapter 2, verse 1. Esther chapter 2, verse 1.
After these things, when the wrath of King of Xerxes was pleased, he remembered Vashti and what she had done, and what was decreed against her. Then said the king's servant that ministered unto him, let there be fair young virgins sought for the king, and let the king appoint officers in all the provinces of his kingdom.
So he said, let fair young virgins be sought for the king. So he said, I'm going to go amongst the young virgins and find another wife. Go ahead.
And let the king appoint officers in all the provinces of his kingdom, that they may gather together all the fair young virgins unto Shushan the palace, to the house of their women, unto custody of Hegar, the king chamberlain, keeper of the women, and let their things be purification be given them.
It said, let their things for purification be given them. All right. So he was looking for one of the young virgins to become his new replacement wife, and they had to be purified. You just couldn't be, couldn't be any kind of defiled woman coming before the king. Even though they were virgins, they had to go through a purification process before they come in before the king. Go ahead.
And let the maid which pleased the king be queen instead of Vashti. And the thing pleased the king, and he did so.
Go ahead.
Now Shushan the palace, there was a certain Jew, whose name was Mordecai.
Mordecai, right. So notice right there it's calling Mordecai a Jew again, like we read in the Apocrypha. Go ahead.
The son of Jehar, the son of Shemaiah, the son of Kish, a Benjamite.
Go ahead.
Who had been carried away from Jerusalem with captivity, which hath been carried away with Jehoiakim, king of Judah, who Nebuchadnezzar, the king Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, hath carried away, and he was brought up. Hadassah, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter.
Right. So his uncle's daughter would make what? Esther his cousin. All right. Go ahead.
For she had neither father nor mother, and the maid was fair and beautiful, whom Mordecai, when her father and mother were dead, took for his own daughter.
Right, so she was a younger cousin to him, but when her parents died, he took her on as a daughter. All right, go ahead.
So it came to pass, when the king's commandment and his decree was heard, and when many maidens were gathered together unto Shushan, the palace, to the custody of Hagar, that Esther was brought also unto the king's house, to the custody of Hagar, keeper of the women.
Go ahead.
And the maid pleased him, and she obtained kindness of him, and speedily gave her things for purification, with such things as belonged to her, and 7 maidens, which were meet to be given her out of the king's house. And he preferred her and her maids unto the best palace, like into the best place of the house of the women. Esther had not showed her people nor her kindred, for Mordecai had charged her that she should not show it.
Right, so Esther didn't reveal that she was a Hebrew, all right? She didn't reveal that she just blended in amongst the women, of the different women of the nations. And I show you the nations were dark, all right? Because if she was able to not reveal her identity and nationality, that means she could blend in amongst other nations, amongst other dark nations. If she was a white girl, she would have stuck out. Oh, that's an Edomite. But she had to be a woman of color, because the only nation that don't have skin color is Esau. So everybody know who Esau is, right? So that means what? Esther had to be a woman of color to blend in amongst the other women of color. And she didn't identify herself that she was a Jew. Right, go ahead.
And Mordecai walked every day before the court of the women's house, to know how Esther did, and what shall become of her.
Go ahead.
Now when every maid's turn was come to go into the king of Assyria, after that she had been 12 months, according to the manner of the women, for so were the days of their purifications accomplished, to wit, 6 months with oil of myrrh, and 6 months with sweet odors, and with other things for
purifying.
For the purifying of the women.
Right, so they had to do 12 months of purification before they came in before the king. All right, this is a king, so of course the women have to come in before him pure. Right, not only with their bodies, their minds, their spirit. That 12 months, even though it says they were purifying their bodies, they probably was going through, mental and spiritual things, just to purify themselves, make sure their mind, their spirit is right. Right, go ahead.
Then thus every maid unto the king, whatsoever she desired was given to her, to go with her out of the house of the women unto the king's house. In the evening she went, and on the morrow she returned into the sacred house of the women, to the custody of Sheashgaz. the king's chamberlain, which kept the concubines, she came in unto the king no more, except the king delighted her, Selachia, except the king delighted in her, and that she were called by name.
Go ahead.
Now, when the turn of Esther, the daughter of Abinaliah, the uncle of Mordecai, Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her for his daughter, was come to go in unto the king, she required nothing but what Hagar, the king chamberlain, the keeper of the women, appointed, and Esther obtained favor in the sight of all of them that looked upon her. So Esther was taken unto the king Ahasuerus into his house royal in the 10th month, which is the month Tebeth, in the 7th year of his reign. And the king loved Esther above all the women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins, so that he set the royal crown upon her head, and made her queen instead of Vashti.
Right, so he was going through different maidens and virgins, and he said, listen, this one I'm going to set up as queen. The other women just became like his concubines. But he said, this one going to be my main wife, my queen. All right, and this was all being set up by the Most High, because later on Esther and Mordecai is going to deliver Israel from being exterminated as a nation. So it was all in the plan of the Most High. Right, go ahead.
Then the king made a great feast unto all his princes and his servants, even Esther's feast. And he made a release to the provinces and gave gifts according to the state of the king.
Right, so Esther had to be special in his eyesight. She was beautiful. She was a Hebrew woman. And the Most High put the spirit on her to choose her. He had all those other young virgins. When you watch the movie, The One Night with the King, there's a part in there where one of Xerxes' concubines said, I haven't seen you in a year. Right? He's had so many women that sometimes he wouldn't see the women for months and years at a time. And they had to just sit there with the eunuchs and couldn't do nothing. They had to be faithful to the king. All right, but out of all those women, who did the Most High put the spirit on to find favor to become queen? It was Esther, a daughter of the Hebrews. But it was all strategically being set up by the Most High. Go ahead.
And when the virgins were gathered together the second time, then Mordecai sat in the king's gate. Esther had not yet showed her kindred nor her people, as Mordecai hath charged her. For Esther did the commandment of Mordecai, like as when she was brought up with him.
Go ahead.
In those days, while Mordecai sat in the king's gate, two of the king's chamberlains, Bigthan and Teresh, of those which kept the door, were wroth, and sought to lay hand on the king of Ahasuerus.
So now, Esther chapter 2, verses 21 through 23 is very important in the story also. All right, keep this in mind. So two other king's chamberlains, they was trying to lay hands on the king and assassinate him. This was assassination plot against Xerxes or Ahasuerus by two of his chamberlains. Go ahead, verse 22. Now keep these three verses in mind, because they're going to be important when we link them up with the story later on. Come on.
And the thing was known to Mordecai, who told it unto Esther the queen. And Esther certified the king thereof in Mordecai's name.
Come on.
And when the inquisition was made of the matter, it was found out. Therefore there were both hanged on the tree, as it was written in the book of the Chronicles before the king.
Right. It's like any president or leader or king or ruler, if they found out there's an assassination plot against them, especially in the ancient time, they for the assassination attempt, those people are going to be put to death. So what happened to these two, Bigthan and Teresh? They was hanged. When it was found out that they was plotting to assassinate the king, they was hanged. All right, now go to the Apocrypha. All right, and it was written in the Chronicles. It was written in the records of the Persian king, or the Persian Chronicles. Go to Esther in the Apocrypha where it says chapter 12. All right, this is after. You read this after chapter 2, verses 21 through 23. Go to Esther chapter 12 in the Apocrypha, page 55 in the Red Apocrypha. Read that.
And Mordecai, the book of Esther, chapter 12, verse 1. And Mordecai took his rest in the court of Gabbath and Thareth, the two eunuchs of the king, and keepers of the palace. And he heard their devices. Now these
are the same two chamberlains or eunuchs from the Bible, but it's just saying their names differently because of the difference in the language with the Apocrypha. Go ahead.
And searched out their purposes, and learned that they were about to lay hands upon Xerxes, the king. And so he certified the king of them.
So that's the part that's missing from when you read Esther 2:21 through 23 in the Bible. How did the king find out that they was planning on assassinating them? Because they was running their mouth, and Mordecai overheard them and said, wait a minute, they trying to assassinate the king. All right? He didn't snitch. It's just, look, these guys are trying to assassinate the king, and it's going to show why later on. All that was key. All that was part of how the Most High lined it up. Read on.
Then the king examined the two eunuchs, and after that they had confessed that they were strangled.
Right here it says they were strangled, which was hung. Because basically when you hung, you died from asphyxiation. Strangled, hung, choked out. All right, it's all the same thing. You die basically from not being able to breathe. All right, you basically choked to death. So they were hung, strangled. Go ahead.
And the king made a record of these things, and Mordecai also wrote thereof.
Go ahead.
So the king commanded Mordecai to serve in the court, and for this he rewarded him. Howbeit, Aman, the son of
Amadathus,
the Agite.
So now here comes the wicked Haman, the Edomite. Haman is an Edomite. So now here comes Haman, this Edomite. Go ahead.
Who was in great honor with the king, sought to molest Mordecai and his people because of the two eunuchs of the king.
Now you're going to find out later on that you might say, well, what is this guy Haman? What is his problem? Why is he mad? If he's a top man in the kingdom, why is he upset because these two eunuchs that wanted to assassinate the king, why is he upset that they plot was discovered and they were hung themselves? Because what? You're going to find out Haman was an Edomite. He was a descendant of the Edomites, and he wanted to take over the kingdom. Doesn't Esau do that now?
Yeah.
All right, when they want to get rid of a leader, what did George Senior Bush, what did he do? He tried to assassinate Reagan. Mm-hmm. The guy that shot Ronald Reagan was a distant cousin of the Bush family. So what happened if Reagan would have died, Senior Bush would have became president with JFK. They got tired of JFK going against the CIA, going against the Vietnam War, and the different things JFK was doing, being too sensitive towards the Negro. So they said, look, bump off JFK and who came in after him? Lyndon B. Johnson. Lyndon B. Johnson. And Lyndon B. Johnson was a serious racist. Mm-hmm. That cracker was racist as hell when you read about him, Lyndon B. Johnson. Mm-hmm. So when they bumped off JFK, who did they bring? They brought in Lyndon B. Johnson. And a lot of times that's what Esau do. They'll kill their own, so they'll kill another nation. All right, they did that during the time of the Greeks and the Romans. They was assassinating the hell out of their own senators and governors and stuff.
Yep, Caesar.
And Caesars, yeah. Mm-hmm. They would assassinate each other like crazy, man, when you read about the Roman Caesars. So wouldn't Esau do that? So how much more to another nation? So that's what happened. So now Haman is mad at Mordecai because Mordecai overheard the plot to assassinate Xerxes, and he told Xerxes about it. And the guys that went to assassinate him, they got hung themselves. So now it says, Haman sought to molest Mordecai and his people. All right? Molest also means to trouble. All right? So he sought the trouble. He sought, trouble towards Israel. But knowing Esau, he probably wanted to really molest Israel. Like the freak that he is. But the word molest also means to trouble. All right? It don't necessarily have to be sexual. But knowing Esau, you never know. Yeah. Right? He said, we're going to rape all the men of Israel. Yeah. Bring it out.
Yeah, actually, they did rape them. When they conquered a nation, they used to rape the men and the women.
Yeah, the Greeks, the Romans. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Especially the Greeks, man.
Yeah.
The Greeks, they that was part of the that was buck breaking back then.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Greeks, man, they'll tell you in a minute. Yeah, we conquered a men, we conquered a nation. We raped the men and the women,
Yep.
and mess around and rape the children.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like the freaks that they are,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah. So that's how they are. So he said after that, now Hammond is pissed off because he's like, damn, my assassination attempt, I was second in command. If the king would have died, we could have took over the kingdom. You know, the Edomites could have took over because Hammond was an Edomite. All right, so that's what happened. That's how that story panned out. So after you read Esther 2 and 23, you jump to the Apocrypha chapter 12, and that gives you the deeper account of Mordecai's plot, foiling of the assassination plot against Xerxes, and why Hammond, now the tension starts amongst him and Hammond, this Edomite. This is how this Edomite pulls up on the scene. All right, go back to Esther chapter 3 and 1 in the Apocrypha. So I hope y'all following me. You start with Esther chapter 11 verse 2 in the Apocrypha. Then you go to Esther chapter 1 and 2 in the Bible. Then you go to chapter 12 in the Apocrypha, and now you go back to chapter 3 in the Bible. So that's the chronological order so far. All right, now go back to Esther chapter 3 and verse 1.
Esther chapter 3 and verse 1. After these things did King Xerxes promote Haman, the son of
Hamadatha.
the Agagite, and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes that were with him.
Right, so it said, after these things did King Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hamadatha, the Agagite, and advance him and set his seat above all the princes that were with him. All right, go ahead.
And all of the king's servants that were in the king's gate.
Because Haman most likely lied. He probably lied and act like he had something to do with foiling the plot, the assassination plot himself. But he was the one that was behind it. All right, go ahead.
Go and revenge Haman.
It said, go over and bowed and reverence. And all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed and reverenced Haman. Go ahead.
For the king had so commanded concerning him, but Mordecai bowed not.
It said Mordecai bowed not. All right, so Mordecai said, I'm not bowing down. Thou shalt have no other powers before the power of Israel. I will not bow before this Edomite. Right, come on.
Nor did him in reverence.
Go ahead.
Then the king's servants which were in the king's gate said unto Mordecai, why transgressest thou the king's commandment?
Go ahead.
Now when it came to pass, when they spake daily unto him, he had hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman to see whether Mordecai matter would stand, for he had told them that he was a Jew.
Right, Mordecai said, look, man, I'm a Hebrew. I don't bow to no Edomite. Right, I serve the God of Israel. That's it. Right, thou shalt have no other powers before me. Right, come on.
And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him in reverence, then was Haman full of wrath.
So now Haman is like, look, this dude stopped my assassination plot. Me and the Greeks could have took, or me and the Edomites could have took over the Persian kingdom once we assassinated the king. Now this dude won't bow to me? All right, go ahead.
And he thought to score.
Salakio, what was the last scriptures? The last scriptures is the book of Esther. But the last one, if you're talking about before that, it was Esther, the 12th chapter in the Apocrypha. If you're talking about that. If not, just rewind the video once it's over. Shalom, Issachar, SOT in the building. All right, read on.
Verse 6, and he thought to score to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had showed him the people of Mordecai. Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all of the Jews that were throughout the whole kingdom of Xerxes, even to the people of Mordecai.
See that? So here you go. Esau wanted to exterminate us back then. Right? They went to exterminate us back then. Nothing new under the sun. That's why what? When Esau and Jacob was born, they were fighting in the womb of Rebekah. That shows you what? That eternal hatred. That there will always be hatred between Israel and Esau. We will never get along with the so-called white man. I don't care how many Bidens you vote for. I don't care how many Kamalas is his sidekick. There will never be peace between the so-called black man and the white man. It's not going to happen. That's why they keep killing us. Now a video, they got a new video that came out of a brother that the cops killed in Orange County. They killed him back in September, and the video just coming out. It's damn near March. Right? It's the last week of February. It's almost March. And they had the video since September, and the video just coming out now. Murdered this brother in Orange County. They locked up a brother in Texas for walking home. Just for walking home.
Walking home, yeah.
Brother ain't have no damn coat on. I don't know what the hell he was thinking about. You in Texas, nigga, but y'all got some damn winter storms down there. It's cold. You know what I'm saying? You might be used to walking around with no coat in Texas, but they just locked the brother up for walking home. So we will never. It don't matter. That's why the scriptures say, though hand join in hand, the wicked will not be unpunished. You will never get along with the so-called white man. I'm sorry to tell you, Negro, West Indian, Haitian, Hispanic, Native American, Seminole Indian, 12 tribes of Israel, it's not going to happen. Yeah. You might got your little friend here or there, your co-worker, couple of Edomites you cool with here and there, but I'm talking as a whole, we're never going to get along as a people. Right? Read that, brother.
Verse 7.
Go ahead.
In the first month, that is, the month of Nisan, in the 12th year of the king of Xerxes, they cast Pur, that is, the lot.
They cast Pur, that is the lot. They cast lots. All right? That's what the Feast of Purim is named after. It's named after Pur or lots or par in the ancient Paleo Hebrew. It's par. You say Purim par yum in the ancient Hebrew. All right, P-A-R-Y-A-M. So like we'll say Ashar par yum. Ashar or Asher, which is happy, par yum, Purim. All right, because they cast lots for us. All right, your lot, when somebody casts a lot for you, that's what, your fate or your destiny. So our destiny was in the hands of this Edomite that hated us. Right, just like it is now. But the Most High going to interrupt that and deliver us. All right, through Yahweh Shah and the angels. Right, read on. Good.
Before Hammon, from day to day, and from month to month, to the 12th month, that is the month of Adar.
All right, that's the month we in now. Today is the 12th month. It will be the 15th day when the sun went down, which is the second day of Purim. Last night was the first day, or the 14th day of Purim. Monday night was the 13th day, but that was the feast of Judas Maccabees or Nicanor. So the Most High had 3 days of celebration together where we defeated our Edomite enemies. All right, good.
And Haman said unto the king of Xerxes, there is a certain people scattered abroad, and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom, and their laws are diverse from all people. Neither keep they the king's laws. Therefore it is not for the king's profit to suffer them.
Right, and the same thing will happen to us in these last days. They're going to say is a certain of these Hebrews that are returning to the laws of the Bible. They're wearing fringes. They're not eating pork. They don't believe in our government. Same thing will happen in these last days. They're going to try to purge us in these last days. It tell you in Revelations 12 that they're going to come against those that keep the commandments of the Most High and have the testimony of Yahweh Shah. Same thing here. What is scattered and dispersed? Those are terms that are mainly used for Israelites in the Bible. All right, come on. Esther 3 and 9.
Verse 9. If it please the king, let it be written, that it may be destroyed. And I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have charge of the business, to bring it into the king's treasury.
He said, look, I'll pay 10,000 talents of silver. I think one year we looked it up. I think a brother brought out that was equivalent to $19 million. This was the bounty. More or less, you know what I'm saying? I'll calculate it again. But I believe we looked it up one year. It was like 10,000 talents of silver was like $19 million today. So we basically had like a $20 million bounty on our head as a people. All right, you know, rounded off at 20. Or whatever the figure was. I believe that's what it was. That was a few years ago. We had looked it up. All right, go ahead.
Verse 10. And the king took his ring from his hand and gave it unto Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite,
The Agagite.
the Agagite, the Jews' enemy.
The what?
The Jews' enemy.
All right, now who were the Agagites? Go to 1 Samuel 15 and 3. All right, hold Esther 3 and 10 and go to 1 Samuel 15 and 3. Now, let's find out who the Agagites was. All right, who were those people? Agagites. 1 Samuel 15 and 3, I believe it is.
1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 3.
Go ahead.
Now go and smite Amalek.
Now go and smite Amalek. Go ahead.
And utterly destroy all that they have.
Go ahead.
And spare them not. But slay both men and women, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, camel and ass.
See, so listen, he said, look, go slay all of them. He said, go slay all of the Amalekites. But what did Saul do? This is what caused Saul to lose the kingdom. And it was given to David. All right, jump down to 8.
Verse 8. And he took Agag, the king of the Amalekites.
The Amalekites.
The Amalekites.
So the Amalekites, the Agagites are descendants from the Amalekites. Read on.
Alive, and utterly destroy all the people with the edge of the sword.
See that? So he took Agag alive. When the Most High told him to destroy all of Agag, all the Amalekites, he said destroy every one of them. Now who are the Amalekites? Go to Genesis 36.
Genesis 36.
Go to Genesis 36, read verse 1, and then we're going to jump to verse 12.
Genesis chapter 36 and verse 1.
Salakia. Yeah, go ahead.
Now these are the generations of Esau, who is Edom.
Who is who?
Who is Edom.
Esau is Edom. Jump to verse 8.
Verse 8. Thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom.
Right, now jump to verse 12.
Verse 12. And Timnath was concubine to
Eliphaz,
Esau's son. And she bare to Eliphaz Amalek.
Who?
Amalek.
See that Amalek was a descendant of Esau, the Edomites, so-called white people. Go ahead.
These were the sons of Adar, Esau's wife.
So now, out of Esau, which is Edom, came Amalek. Out of Amalek came King Agag, and out of King Agag came the Agagites. Because even in the movie, once again, the movie One Night with the King, it shows you in that movie that eventually Agag died off, but he left his wife pregnant. So it was still an Amalek seed that was carried on. And later on, they remembered the history when Saul had slaughtered them. They remembered that history. So that seed that Agag left kept the charge, and later on always remembered what Saul did to them and always sought to get vengeance on Israel. All right, so Esau, Genesis 36, then Amalek, then 1 Samuel 15, Agag, the king of the Amalekites. Then Saul spared Agag, and Agag had descendants from his wife that became Agagites. All right, which what goes back to Esau. So now, who is this enemy right here, Haman? This is a so-called white Jew. Who are the Amalekites? The so-called white Jews today. They all Esau. They all come out of Esau.
Esau seed, yep.
But a lot of them will tell you they descend from the Amalekites. All right, so who's this enemy of Israel? A so-called white Jew. What we would call today a so-called white Jew. An Amalekite. All right, go back to Esther 3 and 10.
Esther chapter 3 and verse 10.
Come on.
And the king took his ring from his hand and gave it to Haman, the son of Hamathiah, the Agagite, the Jews' enemy.
So now we proved that the Agagites were Amalekites or descendants of Esau or Edom. So now, go to Exodus 16, 17. I'm going to show you what happened. I'm going to show you what the Lord said about Amalek.
Exodus chapter 16, verse 17.
Salakia. Exodus 16 and... No, 17, my bad. 17 and 16. Exodus chapter 17, verse 16. Switch that around.
Exodus
Read
chapter
that.
17, verse 16.
Salakia. Shalom, Yeshaya. Yeshaya in the building. HOI Memphis. Come here, Shalom. I read that.
Verse 16. For he said, because the Lord has sworn that the Lord would have war with Amalek from generation to generation.
See that? The Lord said he swore that he would have Amalek from war with Amalek from generation to generation. the Most High made us a promise. So guess what? Even though Saul rebelled and he kept Agag alive, and they said that was part of the Most High's plan also. So Amalek can carry on a seed, and that will be our enemy from generation to generation. All right, so now, who's our biggest enemy today? The so-called white Jews. Not only do they have our nationality, but they run the world. They run the Illuminati. They run all the power structure. They run all the wealth. And they're the ones oppressing us.
Yeah, all the banks.
All right, all the banks, all the wealth. They're the ones that, you know, they're the ones that's gentrifying our neighborhoods. Like my house up in the Bronx, for the last 5 years, the so-called white Jews been knocking on our door. You want to sell this house? You want to sell this house? For like the last 5 years, this greedy so-called Jew. Since when y'all want to move to the Bronx?
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? Y'all ran out of the Bronx in certain neighborhoods when Negroes came in. Now you coming trying to buy up our houses. No, we're not selling, devil. But they try to, hey, I'm like, God damn, every time I come back to New York, so-called white Jew knocking on our door, hey, you want to sell this house? Hey, we're buying houses. No, get out of here, rat. No, you cannot buy this house. It ain't mine to sell anyway. I just rent here, but you cannot buy the house. No. Damn it, then that means I gotta move. You know what I'm saying? I want my damn apartment. I don't own the building. I wish I did, but no, get out of here. You ain't buying the damn thing. I'm speaking for the landlord. All right? So go back to Esther 3:11 now. So that's a little history for y'all in the scriptures to show you who Haman was. So now the plot thickens. Because now Esau's hatred is on the scene because Mordecai foiled his assassination plot. And now this nigga won't bow down to me. So now you know what? I'm gonna plot to get him and his whole nation of people destroyed. All right? Go ahead.
Esther chapter 3 and verse 11. And the king said unto Haman, the silver is given to thee, the people also, to do with them as it seemed good to thee.
See that? It was already, the king approved it. And when you check out Persian history, when an order was made, it couldn't be overturned. All right, once something was decreed and made, it couldn't be overturned. The only way it could be overturned if another order or decree was made to overturn that first order. But once the king approved it and that order was made, it was already a go. How they say it out here on the West Coast, a green light. It was a green light on like the gangbangers say. It was a green light on Israel. You know what I'm saying? Yo, we got the order from the king, right? We got the order from the big homie, right? Right, 10,000 talents of silver. All right, but the big homie gave the order, the OG gave the order. It's a green light on the Hebrews, man, on the Israelites. All right, go ahead.
No fly
Verse
zone.
12.
No fly zone, right? Right, go ahead.
Then were the king's scribes called on the 13th
You
day.
crazy, mom. Right, go ahead.
Verse 12. Then were the king's scribes called on the 13th day of the month of the first month. And there was written according to all that Haman had commanded unto the king's lieutenants and to the governors that were over every provinces, and to the rulers of the people, and to the rulers of every people, of every province according to the writings thereof, and to every people after their language. And the name of the king Ahasuerus was it written, and sealed with the king's ring.
See that once the king put his seal on it, it was a wrap. That's it. All right, that's like now when Esau signed an executive order. But Esau don't follow his own damn laws, man. He break his own rules. But you know, once something is decreed, you know, that's it. You know, in the Persian law, once something was decreed, it was decreed. You couldn't overturn it. All right, go to Isaiah 10 and 1. All right, Isaiah chapter 10, verse 1. And this is what this wicked Haman, this Edomite, that's why the Bible, it makes sense. It all comes together. Because what? We were fighting in the womb from Esau and Jacob. From Esau and Jacob. Esau, which is the so-called white man, and Jacob, which is the 12 tribes of Israel. Or so-called black man, or Negro, which is public enemy number one. The Negro is public enemy number one. Everybody hates the Negro man. Especially the so-called African-American man. You can be walking down the street, minding your business, and society just hates you. And then they want to say we paranoid, or get over slavery, you lazy and you just don't want to do nothing to better your condition. All the stereotypes. All the stereotypes. But Jacob, we could just be minding our damn business. Everybody hate our guts. Right? That's why, what's the brother Tariq, man? Mm-hmm. He's like, yo, somebody got to stand up for foundational black Americans. Or, so-called Negroes. Everybody hates you. Mm-hmm. Even your own people. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Even all the other nations. Yeah. Esau used everybody against you. But then we paranoid. Yeah. Oh, you Negroes need to get over it. You cry too much. You whine too much. Yeah. Right? You always complaining. Just get over it. All right? How you going to get over it when it's still being done to you? Right? You got to fight it. But that's why we got to come back to the Most High.
Bring it out.
Because you know who's going to allow us to overcome it? The power of God.
Bring it out.
Nobody could do a damn thing against that. All right, so Isaiah 10 and 1.
Isaiah chapter 10 and verse 1.
Go ahead.
Woe to them that decree unrighteous decrees.
The Lord said, woe unto them that decree an unrighteous decree. A decree is what? An established order. All right, that's what a decree is. It's an established order. So the Lord said, woe unto them that decree an unrighteous decree. So what did Haman do? He decreed an unrighteous decree. And then he had the king seal it with his ring. And in the ancient time, that's how they sealed the document. All right? They had their ring, or they had their stamp, or they had that, remember the movie Django? Mm-hmm. When he did the bill of sale for the slave and he stamped it?
Stamped it with wax.
Yeah, with wax, yeah. He stamped it with the wax, yeah. That damn Leonardo DiCaprio. That man was not acting, he was being himself. Right? You know what I'm saying? Read on.
And that right grievousness which they have prescribed.
It said they write grievousness which they have prescribed. Right? What do? They write grievous things. They prescribe grievous things to destroy our people. All right, so go back to Esther 3 and 13 now.
Esther chapter 3 and verse 13.
Go ahead.
And the letters were sent by post into all the king's provinces to destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish all Jews, both young and old, little children and women, in one day, even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month of Adar, and to take the spoil of them for prey.
Right, to take the spoils of them for a prey. All right, so it said, look, we're going to wipe out the Israelites and take all their possessions. This was a decree. This was an actual decree. A $20 million bounty on the head of Israel by the other nations, and mainly by Esau. All right, now they kill you for free now. Mm-hmm. Ain't even no bounty on your head. Hell, the cops kill you and they get rewarded.
Wanted dead or alive.
Wanted dead or alive, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Just shot that brother in Orange County, man. Wrestled the brother to the ground and killed the brother, man. Brother had a family and everything. All right, so this is war, man. This is basically war. And all the Black Lives Matter marches and all that is not going to help, man.
Nothing.
It's not going to help. Joe Biden is not going to help.
Nope.
Right? The more you trust in this devil, the more he fails you. The more you trust in the system, the more they fail you. All right? But then you want to complain. Oh, okay, now you want to vote for somebody else in 4 years. Mm-hmm. Biden. Now who you going to have in there?
Trump might come back in 4 years.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Trump say, I'm coming back. I'm going to run under a different party. I told you I'd be back. That man going to be doing his YMCA two-step and everything. All right? So go from there to the Apocrypha. Esther chapter 13, where it says, placed in the Greek after chapter 3:13 of the Hebrew. So when you read up to Esther chapter 3 and verse 13 in the Bible, and then you jump to the Apocrypha, Esther chapter 13, where it says placed in the Greek after chapter 3 verse 13 of the Hebrew. So read that.
The book of Esther chapter 13 verse 1. The copy of the letters was this: the great king Xerxes write these things to the princes and governors that are under him, from India unto Ethiopia, and 127 provinces. After that I became lord over many nations, and have dominion over the whole world, not lifted up with presumptuous of my authority, but carrying myself
So like a presumption of my authority.
presumption of my authority,
Go ahead.
but carrying myself away with equity of mildness, I propose to settle my subjects continually in a quiet life, and making my kingdom peaceful and open for passage to the uttermost coast, to renew peace, which is desire of all men.
So basically, in so many words, he was trying to say, I'm a fair and upright leader. You know, I'm a fair king. Right? Go ahead.
It's like verse 3. Now when I asked my counselors how this might be brought to pass, a man that excelled in wisdom amongst us was approved for his constant goodwill of steadfast fidelity, and had the honor of second place in the kingdom.
Right. So Haman, this Edomite had a top position. He was second in place in the kingdom. So you know he can go to the king and get this decree to destroy Israel. You know, he can get it signed. Right? Go ahead.
Declare unto us that in all the nations throughout the world that will scatter a certain malicious people that had laws contrary to all nations.
Right, we got the laws of the Most High, and they're contrary to all nations. But now he gonna call us a malicious people. All right, go ahead.
And continue to despise the commandments of kings.
See how Esau's a liar? All right, we are malicious people. We have diverse laws. We despise the commandment of the king. Go ahead.
So as the uniting of kingdoms honorably intended by us cannot go forward.
So basically, he's saying, listen, if you want a united and peaceable kingdom, it's these Israelites that's stopping it. Right? Demonizing us. You see how Esau is?
Just
This the devil that the Bible speaks of. All right? And he's a liar too. Go ahead.
Seeing that when we understand that this people alone is continually in opposition unto all men, deferring in a strange manner of their laws, and evil afflicted to our state, working all the mischief they can, that our kingdom may not be firmly established.
So he landed on heavily, man. He's sending some heavy charges against us. Go ahead.
Therefore have we commanded that all they that are signified in writing unto you by a head man who was ordained over the affairs, and is next unto us, shall all, with their wives and children.
See that? No mercy, man. He said all of them, with their wives and children, go ahead,
be utterly destroyed by the sword of their enemies.
See that? That's extermination. That is extermination right there. This is what this wicked Edomite wanted. And the Lord said, through Moses, we will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. Man wanted to exterminate even our wives and children. Right? Not even take them for captivity or spoil, just kill them all. Exterminate them as a people. Go ahead.
Without all mercy and pity.
Go ahead.
The 14th day of the 12th month of Adar of this present year.
Right? See that? And when you go deep in the spirit, why would Haman have that kind of spirit towards us? Because they knew the history when Saul almost wiped out all of them. So he said, I'm going to get y'all back and I'm going to wipe out all of y'all. All right, go ahead.
That they who of old...
See, Esau don't forget nothing, even in the past. That devil don't forget nothing. He'll get you 100 years later.
Mm-hmm.
He'll get your children. He'll get your children's children. Right? Why you think they didn't stop with JFK? You know how many Kennedys they bumped off? Made it look like a plane crashes, and JFK Jr., he died in a plane crash. A mysterious plane crash. They said the man flew his plane the day before it died and the plane was flying fine. Now all of a sudden the plane got complications and just crashes. Because Esau get your generations. He'll get your children's children. He don't forget nothing. He'll get you 50, 60, 100 years later. All right, so this devil Haman remembered. He remembered when the Most High told Saul to wipe us out, and we almost did wipe out all of Amalek. But Saul rebelled and kept Agag alive. So the descendants of Agag's seed, they remembered the history, and they had their chance now to get Israel back. All right, go ahead.
That they who of old and now also are malicious, may in one day be violent, it's like it may in one day with violence go into the grave, and so ever hereafter cause of our affairs to well settled and without trouble.
Right, so basically saying, listen, we wipe out the Hebrews, our kingdom can be at peace. We'll have a peaceable kingdom if we can wipe out the Hebrews. So now go back to Esther 3, 14 and 15 in the Bible. All right, time check.
10:14.
Okay, Connor. All right.
Esther chapter 3 and verse 14.
Go ahead. We'll try to get through the whole story, y'all. If not, we'll give y'all all the verses. Like I said, y'all can go to HOI Atlanta and watch HOI Atlanta service from last night. They gave you all the scriptures and they went over most of the story. So, and y'all got to read on your own. But I'm showing y'all how to jump back and forth. But we got an outline of that you can get a copy of. All right, so you know how to dissect the story of Prim through the Bible and the Apocrypha. So we'll get through as much as we can for the sake of time. Towards the end, if we got to speed up and skip a few chapters or verses, y'all can read those on your own. But you're basically getting the gist of the story. Go ahead. All right, go ahead.
Esther 3 and 14. The copy of the writing for a commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people, that they should be ready against that day. The post went out, being hastened by the king's commandment. And the decree was given in Shushan, the palace. And the king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city Shushan was perplexed.
Right, it says Shushan was perplexed because they was like, some of the people was like, damn, we just got an order to just kill off all the Hebrews? What is this all about? All right, so it said the decree, y'all can write down Esther 3:15 with Isaiah 10 and 1. Because what? It was an unrighteous decree, and we just read that. The copy of the actual letter and decree, you can read in the rest of the chapters of the book of Esther, the Apocrypha, chapter 13, verses 1, the whole thing, verses 1 through 7. That's the actual copy of the letter. See, the Bible gets right to the point that a letter and a decree was written to destroy us, but the Apocrypha gives you the details of what the lying Edomite said in the letter. All right? So it gives you the details. Esther chapter 4, verse 1.
Esther chapter 4 and verse 1. For when Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes, and went out into the midst of the city, and cried with a loud and bitter cry, and came before even the king's gate, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. Verse 3. And in every province whitherso the king's commandment and his decree came, there was a great mourning among the Jews, and fasting, and weeping, and wailing, and many laid in sackcloth and ashes. So Esther's maids had Salakia, verse 4. So Esther's maids and her chamberlains came and told it to her. Then was the queen exceedingly grieved, and she sent raiment to clothe Mordecai, and to take away his sackcloth from him, but he received it not.
Right, so Israel was in mourning, man. You find out there's an order given by the king and by his top right-hand man for you and your whole nation to be wiped out. All right, all because what? Mordecai did something righteous. He foiled an assassination plot against the king. He could have said, well, the hell with it. The king, he's a heathen ruling over us anyway. To hell with him. But the Most High put the spirit on him to do that so he can find favor with the king. All right? Sometimes, you got to use your enemy. You got to utilize your enemy. The Most High, he'll put you in a position like Daniel was made second in command in Babylon. Joseph was made second in command in Egypt. So sometimes, like it tell you in Genesis 49, Judah will be in the neck of the enemy. A lot of times, so-called African Americans have strategic positions in Esau kingdom that the Most High will use to the advantage to get us some kind of rights in this society, so we don't totally perish. That's the Most High showing us mercy. All right, so even though it's the enemy, the Most High can position you within the enemy's kingdom so that you can show favor and it can allocate certain freedoms and help to the nation. All right, come on.
Then called Esther for Hattach, one of the king's chamberlains, whom he had appointed unto Salakia, whom he had appointed to attend upon her, and gave him a commandment to Mordecai, to know what it was, and why it was.
And I believe this Hatak Chamberlain, I believe in the movie One Night with the King, they had what's the guy Debo that just died?
Tiny Liston.
The Tiny Liston?
Yeah, Tiny Liston.
Yeah,
Zeus.
Tiny Liston. Yeah, Zeus. Yeah.
Zeus.
They had him play as one of the Chamberlains in the movie. All right, but they wouldn't say what you got a big black man, but they wouldn't say what nation he was.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Tiny Liston, he played in the movie One Night with the King as I think he played the part of Hatak. I could be wrong, but he played the part of one of the main chamberlains or eunuchs. And they got him in there saying, my manhood was taken away from me. Because that's what a eunuch was. A eunuch basically was a man without his, because they had to protect the women. And a lot of times the king didn't want to put them in a place for any fornication. Because they were around the women a lot. A lot of times, like I said, the king, sometimes he wouldn't see his concubines or his women for months at a time. Then that temptation comes in. So they would make sure that the eunuchs wouldn't be able to sleep with the women by castrating them. All right, yeah, that was one form of a eunuch. You can be a eunuch, just because you don't deal with women. You still got your manhood, but you don't deal with women. And then eunuch also became a government title. The definition kind of changed during the time of Yahushua and the Romans. It became like a government title and position in government, not necessarily a man that don't deal with women or don't have the capacity to deal with women. Bring it out, Rob.
Yeah, he's Hagar. Hagar.
Hagar.
That's Hegai.
Yeah, Haggai.
Hagai. Yeah,
He played Haggai. Yeah, I knew he played not Attack. He played Haggai. One of the main eunuchs. He played Tiny Liston in that movie. Rob Judah just looked it up. Come here, shut up. All right, go ahead.
Verse 6. So Hattash went forth to Mordecai unto the street of the city, which was before the king's gate. And Mordecai...
He just died, right?
He just died
a couple of months ago. December, right?
Yeah, December.
Yeah, like December, yeah. All right. Said, damn, Debo is gone. Mm-hmm. Right, go ahead.
And Mordecai told of him of all that had happened unto him, and of the son of the money that Haman had promised to pay to the king's treasuries for the Jews, to destroy them. Also he gave him the copy of the writings of the decree that was given at Shushan, to destroy them, and to show it unto Esther, and to declare it unto her, and to charge her that she should go unto the king,
I get one of my sons.
to make supplication unto him,
It's not gonna fit.
and to make request before him.
Put it
for
in the
people.
sink. Yeah. Shalaki, just put it in the sink. Yeah. Go ahead.
For her people. Verse 9. And Hattash came and told Esther the words of Mordecai. Again, Esther spake unto Hattash, and gave him commandment unto Mordecai, and the king's servants, and then of the people of the king's provinces, do know that whosoever, whether man or woman, shall come unto the king's into the inner court, who is not called, there is one law of his to put him to death, except such to whom the king shall hold out the gold scepter, that he may live. But I have not been called to come unto the king's these 30 days.
Right. So there was a law that you couldn't come before the king unless you were summoned to come before the king. Go ahead.
And they told to Mordecai as to words. The Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, think not with thyself that thou shalt escape into the king's house, more than all the Jews. For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement at their deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. From another place. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this?
Right. So he's saying, listen, how you know the Most High didn't put you in this position to help you deliver your people? All right. Mordecai had to tell her, the Most High set this thing up. All right. Go ahead. Because remember, Mordecai had a dream about the entire thing from the beginning. So he had to tell Esther, you want, you basically gonna have to take that chance and go before the king to let him know what's going on. You know, and how you know the Most High didn't put you in this position at this time to, you know, to fulfill this. So you got to do what you got to do to save the nation. If you don't, the Most High can bring deliverance from somewhere else, or we just going to be destroyed as a people. All right, go ahead.
Then Esther bade them return Mordecai.
Esther 4:15. Go ahead. Yeah, that's it. That's what you was reading.
Then Esther bade them return Mordecai this answer: Go gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me, and neither nor drink 3 days, night or day.
Neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day. Go ahead. And that's what a fast is, Israel. Esther chapter 4, verse 16. If you want to know what a fast is, that's what they call a dry fast. No food, no drink, nothing. You don't eat nothing for a 24-hour period, or if you want to fast for 2 days, whatever. That's a dry fast. That's a real fast. Now, you can have a water fast. You can have a meat fast. You can, I'm not going to eat no sugar for 30 days, whatever. But a true fast, of course, there's different type of fast. You can go on a liquid fast, meaning you don't eat anything. You just drink. You drink juices and water. For this day, I'm not going to eat no food. I'm going to just drink juice and water. But a real complete fast in the sight of the Most High is abstinence from total food and drink for a certain period of time. You normally do it for a day. Or if you're going to do it for more days, do it for more days. Some brothers fast 3-4 days. Right? You know what I'm saying? Hopefully you don't pass out, but...
You remember that preacher that died trying to say he wanted to beat Jesus?
Yeah. Yeah, wasn't that in Africa?
It was in Africa.
Yeah, it was in Africa. The man said he's going to fast for 40 days and 40 nights, and he's going to be like Yahushua, and the man dropped dead. You know what I'm saying? I don't think nobody could fast no 40 days and 40 nights. No. Not in this wicked, contaminated world. The people have said they've done it, but I don't know.
No.
I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I think you can go a week without eating anything as long as you have water. But anything beyond that, you know what I'm saying? But just fast as much as you can, and whatever your body can handle. You want to do a day or two. The most I think I know a brother did 4 days. 4 days of fasting. I think the most I did was almost 3. I think I got almost to 3, but I felt like I was gonna pass. I felt like lightheaded, like I was gonna pass out. But that's between you and the Most High. But at least fast here and there, at least a day or 2. You can try to do, or 3. Even if you can try to do 3, or some brothers did 4. You know what I'm saying? I know one brother fasted for 4 days and he got sick. You know what I'm saying? When the brother did go to try to eat, he was throwing up. His system was all messed up. It took him a couple of days to get his system back right, because his body wasn't used to that. He's used to eating every day. And he just do a 4-day fast, So you got to do it gradually too, man. Do a half a day fast. If your body's not used to it, do 6 hours, 12 hours. Then build yourself up for if you're going to fast for a whole day. All right, but don't be like the Nigerian preacher. I think that was Nigeria, right?
Yeah.
The man said he's going to be like Yahushua.
No, he said he wanted to beat.
Yeah, he wanted to beat Yahushua, and the man dropped dead. Trying to fast, trying to outdo Yahushua. Right, go ahead.
I also, and my maidens...
Most of probably killed him just for saying that.
Yeah.
Right, go ahead.
I also, and my maidens, will fast likewise, and so will I go into the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish.
He said, listen, if I perish, I perish. All right? If I perish, I perish. I'm going to go before the king. And if I die, I die. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead. But fast for me 3 days and 3 nights, because what happens when you fast, that builds up the spirit. All right? So, it's not hard. It conditions the body. It disciplines you. All right? It helps you to eat healthier. Because if you have like certain food addictions, fasting helps you discipline the flesh where you don't, there's food addictions too. Okay. All right. So fasting helps all of that. It's good. 1, 2, 3, whatever. I know I got my little record 3 days. Thank the Most High I didn't pass out, but maybe I'll try 4 one day. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But I ain't never heard nothing more than 4 in Israel. Straight. If you say you did more, I gotta see it. You gotta prove it. But at least try to do 1 day here and there. All right, at least once a month, once every 2 months, something. You know, some people fast more often, but my point being, this is what a real fast is. Total abstinence from food and drink. All right, go ahead.
So Mordecai went his way and did so according to all that Esther had commanded him.
Right, so he went his way and did according to all Esther commanded him. So go now to the Apocrypha, page 56, where it says, place in the Greek after chapter 417 of the Hebrew. All right, if y'all following this video, y'all got to pay attention. When you watch the video over, see how we going back and forth. So you read the story in chronological order, because the Apocrypha, it gives you a lot of the inner details of what was going on, along with the story. You can just read the story in the scripture, in the Bible, but the Apocrypha gives you some of them hidden details of what was being said behind the scenes and things of that nature. So read on.
Esther chapter 13, verse 8. Then Mordecai thought upon...
We're going to read all the way through chapter 15. And then we'll do a time check and see where we at. And maybe we may have to skip a little bit around to finalize the story. And brothers and sisters can read the rest on their own. Read on.
Then Mordecai thought upon all the works of the Lord, and made his prayer unto him, saying, O Lord, Lord, the King Almighty, for the whole world is in thy power. And if thou hast appointed to save Israel, there is no man that can gainsay thee.
He said, listen, you know, when Esther told him to go and tell the people to fast for 3 days, and I'm going to go into the king, Mordecai went and prayed to the Most High. He said, listen, this is our life on the line. This is the future of us as a people. So I'm going to go pray to the Most High. I'm going to go do what Esther said and tell the people to fast for her, and I'm going to pray to the Most High. And he said, Lord, if your hand of deliverance is upon us, nobody can stop you from delivering us. All right, go ahead.
For thou hast made heaven and earth, and all the wondrous things under the heaven.
Right, that's why we got to trust in the Most High. How you going to deny the power that made heaven and earth? All right, Shalom Akim. Shalom Yahweh Ashalpayam. All right, go ahead.
Thou art Lord of all things, and there is no man that can resist thee, which art the Lord.
Resist thee.
Resist thee,
all right, go ahead.
Which are the Lord. Thou knowest all things, and thou knowest, Lord, that there is neither in contempt nor pride, nor for any desire of glory, that I did not bow down to proud Haman.
So Mordecai is humbling himself before the Most High. He's saying, Lord, you knew my heart, my spirit. You knew my spirit why I wouldn't bow down before Haman. Now this devil is going to take that as a sign of disrespect and put out a decree to exterminate our entire nation. All right, go ahead.
For I could have been content with goodwill for the salvation of the Israel to kiss the soles of his feet.
Go ahead.
But I did this, that I might not prefer the glory of men above the glory of God.
Go ahead.
Neither will I worship any but thee, O God. Neither will I do it in pride.
That's here's the launch. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Go ahead.
And now, O Lord God and King.
What verse you in?
Verse 15.
When Rob come out, you can change your shirt in the bathroom. Yeah. Go ahead.
And now, O Lord God and King, spare thy people, for the eyes are upon us to bring us to naught. Yeah, they desire to destroy the heritage that hath been thine from the beginning. Despise not the portion which thou hast delivered out of Egypt for thine own self. Hear my prayer. And
so, Salakia Mordecai, man, he's laying on a heavy prayer to the Most High. All right, go ahead.
Hear my prayer and be merciful unto thy inheritance. Turn our sorrow into joy, that we may live, O Lord, and praise thy name, and destroy not the mouths of them that praise thee, O Lord. All Israel in like manner cried most earnestly unto the Lord, because their death was before their eyes.
Right, our extermination was before our eyes. So we crying and pleading unto the Most High. Come on. 14 and 1.
Verse 14.
Chapter 14, verse 1.
Verse 14, verse 1. Chapter 14, verse 1. Salaki. Queen Esther also, being in fear of death, restored unto the Lord, and laid away her glorious apparel, and put on the garments of anguish and mourning, and instead of precious ointments, she covered her head with ashes and dung, and she humbled her body greatly, and all that the places of her joy she filled with her torn hair, and she prayed unto the Lord God of Israel, saying, O my Lord, thou art our King, help me, desolate women, which have no helper but thee, for my danger is in my hand. From my youth up have I heard in the tribe of my family, that thou, O Lord, tookest Israel from among all people, and our fathers from all their predecessors, for a perpetual inheritance, and thou hast performed whatsoever thou didst promise them.
Go ahead.
Now we have sinned before thee, therefore thou hast given us into the hands of our enemies.
Right, so Israel always understood that. We sinned before the Most High, so what? He gave us into the hand of our enemies. All of this punishment that we're going through as a people is because we sinned against the Most High.
Broke the laws.
We broke the law, statutes, and commandments. What do you think is going to happen to you? Right? If you continue to be disobedient, that's common sense. That's like a loving parent. If a loving parent want their children to do right, they're going to discipline them. You ain't going to just let your child do whatever, because then you turning them over to Satan. All right, go ahead.
Because we worship their gods. O Lord, thou art righteous.
Right, because we worship their gods. See that, Israel, you worship the gods of the other nations. So therefore you got turned over to destruction. Go ahead.
Nevertheless, it satisfied them not, that we are in bitter captivity, for they have stricken hands with their idols, that they will abolish the thing that art with thy mouth has ordained, and destroy thy inheritance, and stop the mouth of them that praise thee, and quench the glory of thy house, and of thy altar, and open the mouths of the heathen to set forth praises of the idols.
Y'all chills a little bit, because he eventually going to have to get in and out of, move over this way. He's going to have to get in and out of that refrigerator. Yeah, so, all right, go ahead.
And to magnify of a fleshly king forever.
What verse you in?
Verse 10.
All right,
verse 11. Verse 11. O Lord, give not thy scripture unto them that be nothing, and let them not laugh at our fall. But
Salaki, what verse you in?
Verse 11.
All right, read it again from the top.
O Lord, give not thy scripture unto
thy scepter.
O Lord, give not thy scepter unto them that be nothing, and let
don't give rulership unto a nothing people. All right, that's what he was saying. Don't give not thy rulership unto a people that's nothing. All right, go ahead.
And let not
the scepter represents rulership. All right, go ahead.
And let not them laugh at our fall.
And let them not laugh at our fall. Even now, man, the nations laugh at our fall, man.
Mm-hmm.
Right, they mock us, man.
Yeah.
All right, remember what brothers was having a fit about Nipsey Hussle. Remember what the LA sheriff said about Nipsey Hussle?
Mm-hmm.
You don't say that because they look at him as another black man. Mm-hmm. You know, they don't. The Illuminati know the difference between Israel and other nations, but they just look at him as another Negro gangbanger from LA. And you heard the stuff they were saying? Yeah. How we wish they bury him fast because he stinks, and they stink when they alive. Imagine how they stink when they dead. But so if you want to get mad, go see them. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how they look at us as a people, man. And they look at us, that's what they do, they foul. All right, go ahead.
But turn their device upon themselves.
What did the Lord say?
But turn their device upon themselves.
He said turn their device upon themselves. Go ahead.
And make him an example that have began this against us.
Look at what they did with Kobe Bryant. Mm-hmm. The man was dead. They called him a rapist. Still called him a rapist. Mm-hmm. No mercy. You know what I'm saying? Because they hate our guy. That was an Edomite woman, right? The reporter.
Oh yeah,
the Edomite woman reporter. Yeah. Just know the man and his 13-year-old child dies in a plane crash. They still talking about the man's a rapist after he was acquitted. Yeah. They still said OJ killed his wife, that Edomite wife, even though he was acquitted. Yeah. So this is how these people feel about us, man.
Kind.
Go ahead. Remember, O Lord.
Hold on, go ahead.
Do you remember when they said the L.A. niggers when it was trying to explain that he was a L.A.
He said they were saying the L.A. Lakers, but they said the L.A. niggers. Yeah.
And then they had a meme for Valentine's talking about "You take my breath away" with the cop with the knee of George Floyd.
Check that out.
About,
see that?
Yeah, you take my
see
breath
that?
away or something like that.
Take my breath away.
Yeah.
See that?
Yeah.
See that? Yeah. Yeah, and you there was a Irish guy that we met at the camp one time. Mm-hmm. And he said, if you want to go to one of the most racist places in the United States, go to a cop bar. Mm-hmm. He said, go to a cop. I told that story many times. He said, go to a cop bar, a white cop bar, where, they drink after work. Some of them drink before work. And he said, go in there. He said, man, they tell some of the most racist jokes you can imagine. All right? And we got on the Edomite. We was like, yeah, because you was sitting right in there with him. No, I'm not racist. I'm not racist, man. It's just, I just be in a bar to get me a drink. Yeah, right. He said, you want to go to one of the most racist places in America, go to a cop bar. Especially, we was in New York, so he said, especially NYPD. Go to a cop bar in New York City. He said they tell more racy. He said some of the jokes are not even funny, man. It's just showing their hatred. So yeah, that's how these people feel about us, man. All right, so go ahead.
Remember, O Lord, make thyself known in the time of our affliction, and give me boldness, O King of the nations and Lord of all power. Give me eloquent speech in my mouth before the lion. Turn his heart to hate him that fighteth against us.
So now Esther is going before the king, so she's praying to the Most High. This is all prayer that we're reading from after Esther 4:17 in the Bible. When you go to the Apocrypha, all this is prayer. The rest of the fourth chapter, chapter 14, this is our prayer. They pleading with the Most High to deliver them. Right? Go ahead.
That there may be an end of him, and all that are like-minded to him. But deliver us with thy hand, and help me, that I am desolate, which have no other helper but thee. Thou knowest all things, O Lord.
And that's it, man. We only got the power of Israel. Ain't nobody else helping us, man. No Biden, no voting, no Kamala. None. No, nobody else helping us but the Most High. And each other when we keep the commandments, but that's the Most High using us to help each other. All right, go ahead. It's not by your power. Right, go ahead.
Thou knowest that I hate the glory of the unrighteous.
She said, I hate the glory of the unrighteous. Come on.
And abhor the bed of the uncircumcised.
And what?
And abhor the bed of the uncircumcised.
And going back to that movie, the One Night with the King movie about Queen Esther. In the movie, they got her all joyful and happy to sleep with, to be with the king and all that. No. Right here, she said, listen, I hate the bed of the unrighteous. That it's defiled. Right, so even if she was playing it off around the king, being happy and everything, in her mind, she was like, I hate being with this heathen. All right, go ahead.
And of all the heathen.
But the Most High to put her in that position so Israel can be delivered. Go ahead.
And of all the heathen, thou knowest my necessity, for I abhor.
So there's nothing wrong with us being against the other nations like they're against us. All right, you ain't going to love the hate out of them. Negroes think they gonna love the hate out of our enemies, man. I'm a kill the white man's hate with my love. Right? No, you're not gonna love the hate out of them. You know what I'm saying? And even if you choose, which is not wise, but if you choose I'm not gonna hate anybody, but at least love your own people. Mm-hmm. At least do that. You know what I'm saying? If you're gonna say all lives matter, at least let your people's lives matter first. That's what every other nation going to do. All right? Go ahead. Aren't they lying now about, they're exaggerating about attacks on Asians. They talking about is a wave of racist attacks by blacks on Asians. Where? Negroes is telling you to go support Moab, man. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Where's this wave of attack on Asians? See, we don't really do stuff like that. The cat might rob the Chinaman here and there, but there's no a wave of attack by African Americans on Asians. More lies and sensationalism in the media.
It's another crime builder sign.
Yeah, another crime builder sign, and more protection for Esau and the other nations, like they always do, and more demonizing of us. All right, go ahead.
Thou knowest my necessity, For I abhor the sign of my high estate, which is upon my head.
That's why, like that Simeonite, we had a little serial killer in New York, like over the weekend of so-called Valentine's Day. It was a Simeonite. He was going on a train, stabbing and killing people. Right? He stabbed 4 people and 2 of them died. So they called him like a mini serial killer because he was trying to kill people all over the A train. But I see what the NYPD going to do. They're going to use that to harass all the mentally disabled people in New York now. Because it's real bad in New York with the mentally disabled. They all over the place. They letting them out of the institutions. Because of COVID, they just all over the street. So I said, now Esau got a chance to harass them. When you're supposed to take them into institutions and help them. But now Esau probably going to be beating them up, choking them up. And these people have mental issues. Or they might shoot them and say they fear for their lives. Mm-hmm. Look at a Subway serial killer. This guy had I ain't going to front, Simeon had a big knife. Man was going stabbing up people on the A train. You know what I'm saying? It was a serial killer over Valentine's Day. Well, bloody Valentine. No pun intended. But now I said they're going to use that. Esau used everything to his advantage. Now they're going what? They're going to be going after all the mentally disabled blacks and Latinos in the city. All right, so go ahead.
Which is upon my head in the days wherein I show myself, and that I abhor as a mistress rag.
Go ahead.
And that I wear it not when I am private by myself.
Go ahead.
And that thy handmaid have not eaten at Haman's table, and that I have not greatly esteemed the king's feast, nor drunk of the wine of the drink offerings. Neither had thine handmaid any joy since the day that I was brought hither to this present. But in thee, O Lord God of Abraham, O thou mighty God above all, hear the voice of the forlorn, and deliver us out of the hands of the mischievous, and deliver me out of my fear.
Right, so basically she was praying to the Most High for deliverance, and she was saying, Lord, you know, I hate this position, but you know, I know it's necessary to be able to get close to the king to deliver Israel from the decree of us being destroyed. All right, cut it out. All right, go ahead. Chapter 15, verse
15. And upon the third day, when she had ended her prayer, she laid away her mourning garments and put on her glorious apparel. And being gloriously adorned after she had called upon God, who is the beholder of savoring all things, she took 2 maids with her, and upon the one she leaned as carrying herself daintily, and the other followed, bearing up her train. And she was ruling through the perfection of
She was ready
through the perfection of her beauty.
Right, meaning she was fine. All right, ruddy means robust, or it also can mean rosy or fair. All right, so she was nice looking. Right, go ahead.
And her countenance was cheerful and very amiable, but her heart was in anguish for fear.
Right, so she had to present herself. You know, she had to look good. She had to, how do you say, put her best on the outside because she was going before the king. But inside, she was in anguish because of this order to exterminate Israel. All right, by wicked Haman, our Edomite enemy from the beginning. Go ahead.
Then, having passed through all the doors, she stood before the king, who sat upon his royal throne, and was clothed with all his robes of majesty, and glittering of gold and precious stones, and he was very dreadful. Then lifting up his countenance that shone with majesty, he looked very fiercely upon her, and the queen fell down and was pale, and fainted, and bowed herself upon the head of the maid that went before her. Then God changed the spirit of the king into mildness, who in fear leaped from his throne, and took her in his arms, till she came to herself again, and comforted her with loving words, and said unto her, Esther, what is the matter? I am thy brother of good cheer. Thou shalt not die. Though our commandment be general, come near. So he held up his golden scepter, and laid it upon her neck, and embraced her. And she said, Speak unto me. Then she said unto him, I saw thee, my Lord, as an angel of God, and my heart was troubled for fear of thy majesty. Majesty, for wonderful art thou, Lord, and thy countenance is fear of grace. It's like it's full of grace. And as she was speaking, she fell down for faintness. Then the king was troubled, and all his servants comforted her.
Right, that's it on that. So go back to Esther in the Bible, chapter, where we left off at? Chapter 5. So for the sake of time, we read most of the beginning of the story up to chapter 4, and we linked it up in the Apocrypha. So chapters 5, 6, 7, and 8, y'all can read on your own. When you get up to chapter 8, and verse 12, you got to go to chapter 16 in the Apocrypha to fill that in. All right, but like I say, you brothers and sisters can email me or message me on here, and I can give y'all a copy of the Prim timeline, the Prim outline of how you go back and forth through the Bible and the Apocrypha to read it in chronological order. But for the sake of time, we're going to skip to the 9th chapter. We're going to read the 9th and 10th chapter and close out with that. All right, so Esther chapter 9 and verse 1. So y'all read chapters 5, 6, 7, 8, up to verse 12. Then you go to the Apocrypha and you read Esther chapter 16 for the rest of chapter 8. Then you go back to chapter 9 and chapter 10. And then you go back to the beginning where it has the rest of chapter 10 in the Apocrypha. All right? And if y'all don't understand that, go over, rewind this video a few times, and you'll get the chronological order. You go back over it and just listen to what I say carefully. All right? Or if you read the Bible of the Apocrypha, you'll figure it out. Because it tells you how to go back and forth. It tells you. It tells you where to insert what. All right? But if you need, some of y'all just need a backup. If you need it, I can email it to you or I can physically mail it to you. Just pay for the damn stamp. No, I'm just kidding. But, you can get a physical copy or I can email it to you. All right, Esther 9 and 1.
Esther chapter 9, verse 1.
Go ahead.
Now in the 12th month, that is the month of Adar, on the 13th day of the same, when the king's commandment...
So, Salakia, just to give a chronological order of what we missed in chapters 5, 6, 7, and 8, the tension builds amongst Haman and Mordecai and Esther. Haman tries to get Mordecai killed. He tries to make gallows to hang Mordecai on. There's that same lynching, hanging spirit of Esau. All right. And the decree was basically turned around, and Haman and his 10 sons was hung. But when you read chapters 5, 6, 7, and 8, it'll give you the in-depth details. I wish we had time, but that'll take up a lot of time. We'll be here kind of late trying to go through the whole story. But that gives y'all a chance to do y'all homework and read. Because you can figure the story out. You may not understand certain details. You may have to ask a question. But you can figure the story out yourself if you read it in chronological order. It's basically self-explanatory. Get a dictionary or a biblical dictionary and look up words and meanings and certain things you may not understand. And you'll get the understanding of the story. 1, 2, 3. All right, go ahead. Esther 9 and 1. Read.
Esther chapter 9, verse 1. Now in the 12th month, that is the month of Adar, on the 13th day of the same, when the king's commandment and his decree drew near to be put in execution, and the day of that the enemies of the Jews hoped to have power over them, though it was turned to contrary, that the Jews had ruled over them that hated them.
Right, because eventually Esther pleaded to Xerxes, the king, and she got him to overturn the original decree to destroy Israel. He wrote another decree to overturn that. Remember, we brought out earlier, when you read the history of the Persians, once a decree was made, and remember earlier we read how Xerxes sealed it with his ring. That decree had to stand. The only way it was overthrown if another decree was wrote to override that decree. And that's what Esther and Mordecai was able to do. They were successful in getting the king to turn the order around Well, now we can destroy Haman, the Edomites, his sons, and all the heathens that want to exterminate Israel. It was reversed. All right, go ahead.
The Jews gathered themselves together in their cities throughout all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus to lay hand on such as sought their hurt, and no man could withstand them, for the fear of them fell upon all people.
See that? It said the fear of Israel fell upon all people. All right, because the Most High was with us. Remember when you read Deuteronomy, the laws of war, when you read in Deuteronomy in the laws of war, the Lord said, I will send an angel before you. If the Most High is with us when we go out to battle, he'll send an angel before us, and that angel will put fear in the enemy. So by the time that our armies get to them, we can say, boo, and they drop dead. The Most High said, I'll take the spirit from them. I'll send an angel before you, before your army march. I'll send that angel before you and put so much fear in that army, they'll crumble by the time you get to them. Remember in 1 Samuel, when we marched, the Philistines called us gods. They said just in us marching to war, we sounded like gods. So that's the power the Most High could put on us when he go out with our armies. All right, go ahead.
And all the rulers of the provinces, and the lieutenants, and the deputies, and the officers of the king helped the Jews, because of the fear of Mordecai fell upon them.
Right, because eventually Mordecai, he rose to second in command. When you read them chapters we didn't go to, when you read, you're going to find out that Haman thought that he was going to be risen up and honored in the city. And Xerxes said, no, honor Mordecai, because Mordecai helped to stop the assassination attempt that was against me. So they marched Mordecai through the city, and they put a crown or royal garment on him and marched him around the city on a horse. So read those chapters that we didn't get a chance to go into. Read those chapters, and all that missing information, all that missing part of the story, you'll get on your own. Very beautiful and interesting story. So read the rest of those chapters on your own. That's your homework for the rest of tonight, tomorrow, during the day, whatever. Because tomorrow, throughout the day, is still the Feast of Purim. It doesn't end until sundown tomorrow, so you're still in the feast when you wake up tomorrow. Or you can read the story anytime. You don't have to just read the book of Esther when Purim comes. You can read it anytime. All right, go ahead.
For Mordecai was great in the king's house, and his fame went out throughout all the provinces. For this man Mordecai was great and greater.
Right, and that's why the Feast of Purim is also known as Mordecai's Day. It tells you that in the Apocrypha. We'll read that if we have time. Because it said Mordecai's fame grew greater and greater. Now, remember on Monday's lesson when I went into Judas Maccabees and the day of Nicanor, remember I went into a subtopic. I got about 6 or 7 scriptures, the fame of Judas Maccabees. So that's why HOI, we call the day of Nicanor's death or destruction of Nicanor, we also call it Judas Maccabees Day. Because Purim was also called Mordecai's Day because of the fame of Mordecai that he received in defending his people. All right, read on.
Thus the Jews smote all their enemies with the stroke of the sword, and slaughter and destruction, and did what they would unto those that hated them.
Right, so it said the Jews, we was allowed to kill our enemies that wanted to destroy us. And we made it a 2-day celebration out of it. Thus saith the Lord. All right, go ahead.
And in Shushan the palace.
Shalom, sis. Y'all should be here. Go ahead.
And in Shushan the palace of the Jews slew and destroyed 500 men.
Go ahead.
And
Parshantata.
And Parshantata and
Dalphon
and
Asparta
and
Parata
and Adalia
and
Arathia
Aradathya
and Parmastia and
Arisai
and Arisada and
Aridai
and
Vejazata Khan. Oh, I'm gonna take over. You don't got your shirt. All right, so I'm gonna take over. While the brother changes to his other shirt. Esther 9 and 10. The 10 sons of Haman, the sons of Hamadatha, the enemy of the Jews, slew they, but on the spoil laid they not their hands. So they killed off all the enemy, but they said don't take any of the spoil as of yet. All right, don't take any of the spoil as of yet. Just messing with y'all, sis. All right, don't take any of the spoils as of yet. All right. Verse 11. On that day, the number of those that were slain in Shushan the palace was brought before the king. So all these heathens and nations that wanted to exterminate Israel, what happened? The Most High allowed them to be destroyed. All right, he turned it around. All right. That's Galatians 6 and 7. We don't have to get it. But the Most High said, be not deceived. The Most High is not mocked. Whatsoever man soweth, that shall he also reap. All right. That's Galatians 6 and 7. All right. So reading on, it says, and the king said unto Esther the queen, Esther chapter 9 verse 12. And the king said unto Esther the queen, the Jews have slain and destroyed 500 men in Shushan the palace, and the 10 sons of Hamadatha, Salakia, and the 10 sons of Ham and Salakia. What have they done in the rest of the king's provinces? Now what is thy petition, and it shall be granted thee, or what is thy request further, and it shall be done? See that? So he said, listen, these Jews, they done slayed all their enemies throughout the provinces. I allowed you to get revenge on your enemies. What else do you want? All right. All right. Verse 13. You can take over. 9:13. Esther 9:13.
Then said Esther, if it please the king, let it be granted to the Jews which are in Shushan to do morrow, also according unto this day decree, and let Haman's 10 sons be hanged upon the gallows.
See that? It said, let Haman's 10 sons be hanged on the gallows. Because what happened is Haman, he had made gallows to hang Mordecai on. All right, he wanted to hang Mordecai on the gallows, and what happened? The Most High turned it around and had his 10 sons hung on the gallows that he made for Mordecai. Remember, they the riot at the Capitol? Yeah, they said hang. They made gallows for Mike Pence. Yeah, they said hang Mike Pence, hang Mike Pence, hang. Yeah, look it up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they actually made a gallows and said they said Mike Pence is a traitor, hang him. Yeah, so he's on that spirit, man. Wow. So if they'll hang their own vice president, imagine what they'll do to us. Esau always had that hanging spirit, man. But the Most High turned it on him. The gallows he actually made for Mordecai, his 10 sons got hung on him. Right, go ahead.
And the king commanded it so to be done. And the decree was given to Shushan, and they hanged Haman's 10 sons.
See that? So Esau's 10 sons got hung. Because what happened, man? His sons would have been alive. That's his seed. They would have took up the charge, and they would have had sons, and eventually they'd have tried to come back and get Israel again. All right, go ahead.
For the Jews that were in Shushan gathered themselves together on the 14th day, also of the month of Adar.
So that was last night. Last night's sundown was the first day of Purim, which is the 14th day of the 12th month according to the Hebrew calendar. We had the new moon on February 10th. So 13 days at even would have been last night's sundown. Right? That last night was actually the opening or first day of Purim. Go ahead.
And slew 300 men at Shushan. But on the prey they laid not their hands.
So the Most High gave us a feast day celebration when we slaughtered and defended ourselves against our enemies. Right? Exodus 15 and 3. The Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name. So yes, we can celebrate war. All right, go ahead.
But the other Jews that were in the king's provinces.
So they do it to us, right? What is Thanksgiving? Thanksgiving is a celebration by the so-called white man in the slaughtering of the Native American Indians. That's what Thanksgiving is. You don't believe me? Look up the history. I know people get mad. No, it's a time for the family to come together and we give thanks. And that's what I thought when I was young. Until I got older and I read the history. I read the history on God. And you got some of our people that say they know that. I know that, but I just still come together and give thanks. All right, ain't nothing wrong with coming together to give thanks. Yeah, you can do that any day, though. Why you got to do it on that contaminated day, you know? When that's what Thanksgiving is a celebration of the slaughtering of the Native American Indians. The first Thanksgiving was the slaughter of the Pequot Indians in the 1500s. And really, it really wasn't the first one because when you read the history, it tells you every time they slaughtered a group of Native Americans, whether it was small or great, they would sit down and celebrate and have a feast. So the Pequot was one of the largest numbers. I think they slaughtered over 700 of them in the 1500s or something like that. But that was one of the larger numbers. But they said they would go through Native American villages and slaughter the people off, whether small or great. And every time they slaughtered a group of Native Americans, they would have a feast about it. All right, go ahead.
But the other Jews that were in the king's provinces gathered themselves together and stood for their lives, and had rest from their enemies, and slew of their foes 75,000. But they laid not their hands on the prey.
Right, they used 75,000. They slew 75,000 of their enemies. Right, go ahead.
On the 13th day of the month, Adar.
So now the 13th day of the month, Adar, is important in Persian history. But remember, in the Greek history, the 13th day became the celebration of the feast of Judas Maccabees, which was the slaughtering of Nicanor, which was a Greek. So we got 3 days that we celebrate back to back, where we defeated these Edomite Greek enemies, and the Most High had to celebrate. Look at what we was bringing out earlier. You know, Haman was a descendant of the Amalekites, and eventually, who did they become? They became the Greeks. Because when you go from Esau to Amalek, you go to Agag, then you go to Haman, and then it said Haman was of the Macedonians. And what was Alexander's father called? Philip II of Macedonia, which was the Greeks. So it goes all the way from Esau to the Greeks. So we got 3 feast days in a row where we defeated our Greek Edomite enemies at 2 different times in history. By Hashem HaMashiach. All right, go ahead.
On the 13th day of the month of Adar, on the 14th day of the same self-rested day, and made it a day of feasting and gladness.
They made it what?
A day of feasting and gladness.
So what happened? This day turned into a day of celebration, a day of feasting and gladness. Go ahead.
But the Jews that were at Shushan assembled together on the 13th day thereof, and on the 14th day thereof, and on the 15th day of the same day of on the same they rested and made it a day of feasting and gladness.
Right, so Purim is not a Sabbath. It's not a Sabbath. The reason why I said they rested, meaning they rested from fighting their enemies. Purim is not a Sabbath. It's a day of celebration. It's a day of celebration. We struggled with that a lot over the years, but brothers just came to the conclusion it's not Leviticus 23, so it's not a Sabbath. Meaning they rested from fighting their enemies and they celebrated. Right? Like the so-called Jews, they dress up in all kinds of wild costumes and, you know, because it is a festive day. When you read the history of Purim, it's very festive. But the Most High didn't tell us that for a man to dress like a woman. They dress up in drag and everything in Israel on Purim. Yeah. Yeah, the Israeli army be wearing skirts. Yeah, we got pictures and all that of that on old signs and stuff. Yeah. They be having lipstick on, wigs, and all while they patrolling. They be having, it's the Israeli military. They be having their M16s and everything. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they have everything. And they'll be on, oh, it's Purim, you know. So I'm going to dress up in drag. Right? So now Purim is associated with being a damn tranny. You know what I'm saying? Right? Yeah. Right, go ahead. They dress up in all kinds of wild costumes. They have gay and lesbian Purim celebrations for sodomite so-called Jews. Yeah. Right, they come together with their couples and, you know, men and men, women with women, and they celebrate the feast. So you know they not the real Jews, man. Right, go ahead.
Therefore the Jews of the villages that dwelt in the unwalled towns.
Kari, give me a portable charger and a wire right here.
Made the 14th day of the month, Adar.
Huh? No, right here. Right here. Go ahead.
Therefore the Jews of the villages that dwelt in the unwalled towns made the 14th day of the month, Adar, a day of gladness and feasting, and a good day, and of sending portions one to another.
Right, so you can give gifts for Purim. You can you can give to the less fortunate. You know, this is the time for that. All right, this is our gift giving time. All right, since you you feel like you miss Christmas and you don't have no time to give out gifts, you can do it for Purim. All right, or even Hanukkah. But Israel get over righteous, and Israel debate. Oh, you're giving gifts for Hanukkah. You're trying to replace Christmas. Da 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 da. But on Purim is when it directly tells us we can give gifts. All right. So my gift to Yah is me being here. Shalom. Right. Go ahead.
And Mordecai wrote these things and sent letters unto all the Jews that were in the provinces of the king Xerxes, both nigh and far.
Go ahead.
To establish this among them, that they should keep the 14th day of the month, Adar.
Right, so it became an established feast day. All right, it was put on the calendar of the Jews. All right, go ahead.
And then the 15th day of the same yearly.
They said keep it yearly. So now it got added to our feast days and celebrations. All right, that's another debate. Brothers are saying it's not Leviticus 23, so we don't have to keep it. No. Most High can do what he want to do. He can add a feast day to the calendar.
God.
Who are you to tell him, right? He going to add another feast when we delivered from America. All right, go ahead.
As the days wherein the Jews rested from their enemies, and the months which turned unto them from sorrow to joy,
Go ahead.
and from mourning into a good day.
So we was also just celebrating gladness that, our lives were saved. Not even so much killing our enemies, but our lives were saved. We were saved from being exterminated as a people. All right, come on.
That they should make them days of feasting and joy, and of sending portions one to another, and gifts to the poor.
Yeah, like, years ago, throughout some years, brothers would go out on Purim, and brothers would give out food to the homeless, socks and toiletries, stuff like that, just doing good, trying to follow the story to the letter. Giving out to the less fortunate. All right, go ahead.
And the Jews undertook to do as they had began, and as Mordecai had written unto them.
Go ahead.
Because Haman, the son of Hammedatha, and
the Agagite,
the enemy of all the Jews, had devised against the Jews to destroy them, and had cast pur, that is the lot, to consume them and to destroy them.
Right, so hence that's what the name of the feast day is named after. Pur, P-U-R, or par in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, or par yum, because it's plural. All right, and it means lot, fate, or destiny. So basically when you say par yum, it's like saying the fate or the destiny of the Jews. All right, Purim, that's what it means in the ancient Paleo Hebrew. Paryam, P-A-R-Y-A-M. But they say Purim in the English. All right, go ahead. Or modern Hebrew, right? Go ahead.
But when Esther came before the king, he commanded by letters that his wicked device, which he had devised against the Jews, should return upon his own head, that he and his sons shall be hanged on the gallows.
See that? The Lord turned their device on their own head. So everybody put down Esther 9 and 25 with Galatians 6 and 7. Be not deceived, the Most High is not mocked. Whatsoever man soweth, that shall he also reap. He plotted and schemed to hang Mordecai, the Benjamite, our Benjamite brother, on a gallows, but he got hanged on the gallows. And Esau loves that hanging spirit. Like I said, they want to hang their own vice president, Mike Pence. The man was still the active vice president. Biden didn't come in until the 20th. That was January 6th. They went down to the Capitol and put up gallows. Go on the internet, you see the pictures? They actually put up gallows to hang the man on. You know what I'm saying? Because Trump said he was a traitor. Trump said he's a traitor. So they said, hang Mike Pence. Hang Mike Pence. Yeah, they actually set up gallows to hang the man. All right, so that's in Esau. That hanging is in Esau's spirit. Right, go ahead.
Wherefore they call these days Purim, after the name of Pur.
Right, they call these names Purim or Paryam, after the name of Pur or Par, P-A-R, which means lot, fate, or destination. All right, go ahead.
Therefore, for all of the words of this letter and of that which that have seen concerning this matter, and which had come unto them, the Jews ordained, and took upon them, and upon their seed, and upon all such as joined themselves unto them, so as it shall not fail, that they will keep these 2 days according to their writing, and according to their appointed time every year.
Right, they would keep these days according to their appointed time every year. So this was put on the calendar of the Hebrews as another feast day and day of celebration. All right, go ahead.
And that these days shall be remembered and kept throughout every generation, every family, every province, and every city. And that these days of Purim shall not fail from among the Jews, nor the memorial of them perish from their seed.
So from this time on, it was to be kept. All right, from this time on, during the reign of the Persians, all right, during the reign of Xerxes, you can look up the years that Xerxes ruled, and it was to be kept from that time period on. All right, go ahead.
Then Esther, the queen, the daughter of
Shalakia was added to our calendar of feast days and celebrations. No, it was not in Leviticus 23, but it was a day of celebration. All right, no, it's not necessarily a Sabbath. I mean, if you want to keep it as a Sabbath, that's on you. But you know, like I said, over the years we kind of struggled with that. But brothers just came to the determination it's not a Sabbath; it's just a day of celebration. Like Esau have Easter, but then they'll have 4th of July. All right, they'll have Christmas, which supposed to be like their religious days. All right, they'll have Christmas, which is supposed to be the birth of Christ, but then they'll have Memorial Day. You know, they got so-called religious days, then they got days of celebration. All right, so go ahead.
Then Esther, the queen, the daughter of Abihail, and Mordecai the Jew, wrote with all authority to confirm this second letter of Purim. And he sent the letters unto all the Jews, to the 127 provinces of the kingdom of Ahasuerus, with words of peace and truth, to confirm these days of Purim, and their times appointed, according as Mordecai the Jew and Esther the queen had enjoyed them, and as they had decreed for themselves and for their seed the matters of the fasting and their cry. And the decree of Esther confirmed these matters of Purim, and it was written in their book. Verse 10. And the king of Ahasuerus laid a tribute upon the land and upon the isles of the sea, and all the acts of his power and of his might, and of the decoration of the greatness of Mordecai, whereunto the king advanced him. And are they not written in the book of Chronicles, the king of the kings of Media and Persia? Right, so they're written in the Chronicles or the records of the Persian and Medes. All right, it's written in their history, this story also. So it's not only in the scriptures, you can also find it in actual history. That's what it's saying. All right, right. Go ahead. If you go through the Chronicles, like we have a First and Second Chronicles in the scriptures. And what is that? That's the Chronicles of the kings and the bloodlines of Israel. Because when you go through Chronicles, it takes you from Jacob, Adam, all the way down to all the tribes. It takes you through all the generations. It's the Chronicles or the records of the ancestry of Israel. And it also gets into some of the kingship and, some of the other history. So every nation had records. All right, that's how Esau, the scriptures say Esau is wiser than Daniel. Because when Esau conquered the world, what did he do? He took everybody's records. Mm-hmm. He conquered your land, and then he take your records. And he studied them things meticulously, man. He studied so he can know that nation. He can know your history. He can know how to. He know what makes you weak. Mm-hmm. He know your laws. Yeah. All right, that's his job to rule the earth and know the people that he ruling over, his subjects. All right, go ahead. For Mordecai the Jew was next unto the king of Cyprus, and great among the Jews, and accepted a multitude of his brethren, seeking the wealth of his people, and speaking peace to all his
You
seed.
see that? So it said Mordecai the Jew was next unto King Ahasuerus, and great among the Jews, and accepted of the multitude of his brethren, seeking the wealth of his people and speaking peace to all his seed. So what does that show you? Mordecai was for his people. All right? He was for his people. Not every other people, every other nation. They make it like it's damn kryptonite to Superman for you to love your own people.
Yep.
The minute we want to do something for ourselves, we racist.
Divisive.
It's divisive. It's reverse racism. You know what I'm saying? Yo, we want to have a black business district, a so-called African American business district. Oh, that's racist. Everybody can have everything for themselves. Damn Issachar could damn near take over Southern California, but let a Negro want a damn corner store, and you racist now. Well, I gotta be black, or you gotta hire. Like a lot of black-owned businesses, I noticed they got these multi-racial staffs. I'm like, well, it's black-owned, but Esau work here, Elon work here, Ham works here.
Yep.
If you gonna have a black business, you better hire all nations.
Rainbow Coalition.
Yeah, Rainbow Coalition. Other nations have a business, they whole damn family working there. But we own it, even if it's like that. That's going on a lot in New York, like soul food restaurants. They're black-owned, but it's like, damn, Elon is serving you your food. The hell you know about some collard greens? You know what I'm saying? Esau is giving you your drink. You're like, yo, what you know about a Alabama slammer? You know what I'm saying? But it's like everybody, okay, you know, you got to be diverse. You know, so that's how one, there was a famous breakfast restaurant. Well, they serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but they was famous for breakfast. It was called Pan Pan. It was on 135th and Lenox in Harlem. Legendary spot, man. Bill Clinton ate there. Celebrities, Alicia Keys filmed one of her videos there. Legendary spot. But what happened? The spot had a whole bunch of Hamites working there, and the Hamites was ripping the damn Jake off because there was a brother, Benjamin brother, that used to be in our camp. He was a chef. He used to work here. He was a cook, and he used to work there. And he told us how, the Hamites that run the register is robbing the place blind. Just caking off of Jake, 2,000, 3,000. Just robbing the register. I said, that man need to get a new system of counting his money or something. But see, you let these other nations come into our business, you damn sure ain't working for Ham.
Nope.
Ham got all of 116th Street in Harlem, and not one Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Ephraim is working for them.
We can't work with Hakata.
No, we can't work with Akata. They got pizza shop, they got clothes, they got everything. And who works in their Ham? They might hire Issachar, because everybody hire Issachar, because he is hired. Issachar is cheap labor. But other than that, all the businesses, all the stores, is nothing but Africans working there. But every time we got a little something, we got to hire everybody, or we divisive. We're racist. You know what I'm saying? No, I don't want, this is my business. I'm only hiring my family. Oh, that's racist. You know what I'm saying? If a white person comes here and wants to work, you gotta hire them. No. Y'all don't do that. And if y'all do, y'all give us the damn minimum, you give us the minimum jobs that your children don't want to do. The Negro could be the bus boy, he can be the security, he can be, he can be the parking attendant. My son is not going to do that. So that's what they do. But it's racism when we want to be for ourselves. You know what I'm saying? That makes no sense, and it's hypocritical as hell. All right, so go from there to the rest of chapter 10 in the Apocrypha. We left off at Esther 10 and 3. Now let's go back to the rest of the chapters of the book of Esther, the Apocrypha. If you got the red Apocrypha, it's page 55. Go to the part where it says part of the 10th chapter after the Greek. I think that's what it says. All right, yeah, that's the rest of the 10th chapter. All right, read that.
The top right.
Then Mordecai, yeah.
Then Mordecai said, God have done these things, for I remember a dream which I saw concerning these matters.
Hold on, before we read that, go to 2 Maccabees 15. Now I went over this Monday night, y'all. Y'all should remember this and have this in y'all notes. The ones of y'all that are watching that was on a live Monday. All right. What is another name for Prim? All right. Type it in the comments if you know. Before we read. Why is y'all coming up under multiple? It's saying like 7 times that y'all are watching. I don't know why is it doing that. Y'all must be clicking on and clicking back on. But anybody in the comments, what is another name for Purim? We read this Monday when we went over destruction of Nicanor and day of Judas Maccabees. All right, nobody remember? Let's go to 2 Maccabees 15 and start at start at 28. 2 Maccabees 15, 28.
2 Maccabees 15, verse 28. Now when the battle was done, returning again with joy, they knew that Nicanor lay dead in his harness.
So Judas Maccabees and Israel and the army that he had went up against Nicanor, this Greek general that had great hatred for Israel. And Judas was winning so many wars against the Greeks. They sent Nicanor, which was one of the top generals amongst the Greeks. They sent him and his army after Judas, hoping that he would defeat Judas. All right, go ahead.
Then they made a great shout and a noise, praising the Almighty in their own language.
Right, Kwame Sha'ala. All right, go ahead.
And Judas, who was ever the chief defender of the citizens, both in body and mind, who continued his love toward his countrymen.
Toward his countrymen, there it is. His own people. There it is again. It said he was a defender of his citizens and his countrymen, his own people. So why is it a taboo for you to be for your own people? All right, go ahead.
All his life commanded to strike off Nicanor's head.
Right, see, cut off Nicanor's head after he killed him because he was you got the answer. Somebody got the answer. All right, yeah. Right answer, brother or sister. Right, I can't really see that name. It's too small. All right, go ahead.
And his hand with his shoulders, and bring him to Jerusalem. So when he was there,
but he cut off after he killed him, he cut off his head and his right arm with the shoulder, because he had stretched forth his arm to the temple and said, "I'm gonna burn this place down." So when they killed him, they mocked him. They cut his head off and they cut his right arm off that he pointed to the temple with. Same thing David did with Goliath. Remember, after David killed Goliath with the sling, he cut Goliath's head off. All right, go ahead.
So when he was there and had called them of his nation together and set the priests before the altar, he sent for them that were of the tower and showed them vile Nicanor's head.
Man, he called them vile, man. Despicable, disgusting, disgraceful. Vile Nicanor's head. Go ahead.
And the hand of that blasphemer, which with proud brags.
Proud brags. Go ahead.
He had stretched out against the holy temple of all the Almighty.
He stretched out his hand against the holy temple. All right, come on.
And when he had cut off the tongue of that ungodly Nicanor, he commanded that they should give it by pieces unto the fowls.
But the reason why he cut out Nicanor's tongue, because Nicanor was speaking blasphemy against the Most High. So he said, that same tongue you spoke evil against the Most High with, I'm going to cut it out and feed it to the birds. Right? And we serve a fierce power, man. Yeah, I know the churches say it's about love, 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 love. My Jesus don't do that. No. The Lord is a man of war. And when you seek to do evil to his people, the Lord will get you fiercely, violently. Right? That's what they say. Don't read the Old Testament. The God of the Old Testament is a bloody God. That's what the Christians say. Right? He's a bloody God. Yeah. But Yahushua said he's coming back with a sword.
Change not. Most I say he changed not.
Right. Yahushua said in Luke, bring them hither and slay them before me. So he's still a bloody God.
Still a bloody God.
Right? Go ahead. That God of the Old Testament is a bloody God. I remember battling the Christians in New York for years with that, man. Right? They don't say it as much too much anymore, but every once in a while. But back in the 90s, early 2000s, we used to go at it with them Christians on the street, man. That's a bloody God. You better stay on the right-hand side of the book. Stay in the New Testament, right? Go ahead.
and hang up the reward of his madness before the temple. So every man prays toward the heaven, the glorious Lord, saying,
What verse you in?
34.
Right, bring it out.
So every man prays toward the heaven, the glorious Lord, saying, Blessed be he that hath kept his own place undefiled.
Right, the Lord kept his own place undefiled. Go ahead.
He hanged also Nicanor's head upon the tower.
Hanged his head on the tower. All right, we hearing about a lot of hanging, right? And we celebrating on these feast days. Hey, look, Esau used to hang us and have a cookout. Or a picnic.
Yeah.
Pick a nigga.
Yeah.
They used to hang us and make postcards out of it. Right? Read that book, 100 Years of Lynching.
Yeah.
Right? There's that other book. I got that book in New York. Without Sanctuary. There's another book, Without Sanctuary. Without Sanctuary actually shows you some of the actual postcards.
Yeah.
It shows you some of the actual postcards that they used to hang us and lynch us and take photos of. It was more so like a photo. They would take the photo of it and they would write letters on the back and send them to each other. Yeah. And that was one of the forerunners of your postcards. Postcards go all the way back because we had postmen in the ancient time. You would write a letter or write something. They would take it on horseback to the city or place where it had to go. But that was your forerunner of your modern day postcard. All right? Negroes hanging on a tree. You take a picture of it and you write on the back of the picture and send it to a family member. That was a postcard. All right?
Esau always have us delicacy. They used to have our lives in jars. And, create candy called nigger lips and stuff like that. All kind of stuff. Esau they just can't live with us. They gotta have us. They put us in stews. Our body parts in stew.
Right.
They just gave that Turner his family of the skull back just not too long ago.
Right, the skull. Yeah.
It's like Esau just loved
keeping pickle your you know what in a jar. They love doing that.
Yeah.
They love doing that. They claim that they got Geronimo's skull. They got I think Malcolm X, and that's what they say. A lot of the famous people they keep body parts of them and they get power from it. They do seances around it and all that. He's so sick, sick bastard, man. That's what they had when Whitney Houston died. They kept her body above them when they did the Grammy party. Whitney Houston, they had the Grammy party in the same hotel. That was an ancient Egyptian ritual. That they had Whitney Houston's body, or they never moved her body. They kept her body up above them while they partied downstairs. That was an ancient Egyptian ritual, yeah.
Okay.
They partying while the dead body is still there. Oh, wow. Yeah, they sick, man. They sick. And a lot of people didn't like that, man. They said, why is the her body still there and y'all having a damn party downstairs? That's disrespectful. But when some of the conspiracy theorists brought out is an ancient Egyptian ritual they was performing. Yeah, going back to that diva and all that stuff. Yeah. Right? So they sick, man. They sick. A lot of that conspiracy stuff be real. The Illuminati and all that, they do them rituals to keep power with Satan. All right? Why would you have her body still there at a damn, why you having a party? Right above your head. If she's right up here, they partying down here. They ain't move a body for 13 hours, 14 hours. All right, so go ahead.
An evident and manifest sign unto all the help of the Lord.
Go ahead.
And they ordained all with a common decree, and no case to let that day pass without solemnity, but to celebrate the 13th day of the 12th month, which is in Syrian tongue is called Adar, the day before Mordecai.
It's just written in the Greek. It's the day before Mordecai's day. So that 13th day, which was Monday sundown, is the day of the destruction of Nicanor, but it's also the day, we call it the day of Judas Maccabees, because Purim is called Mordecai's day. And we just read in Esther chapter 10, verses 1 through 3, how great Mordecai was, and that's why the day was named after him also. Not to exalt Mordecai over the Most High, don't get simple, but it's called Mordecai's day because of the great, deliverance that he did for Israel through Esther. All right, so we make nicknames for everything or second names, so that we also called it Mordecai's day, and it's written right here in the history. So that's another name for Purim, Mordecai's day. Go ahead.
Thus went it with Nicanor, and from that time forth the Hebrews had the city in their power. And here will I make an end. And if I have done well, as if is fitting the story, it is that which I desired. But if slandering and meanly, it is that which I could attain unto. For as it is hurtful to drink wine or water alone, and as wine mingled with water is pleasant and delighted the taste, even so speech finely framed delighted the ears of them that read this story, and here shall be the end.
Right, so that's it on that. I was just showing that in the ending of Second Maccabees, it ends off with the wars of Judas. It ends off with the day of Nicanor's destruction, but it referred to, because Purim happened before the Judas Maccabees. So Purim was the Persian Empire. Judas was the Greek Empire. All right, so they had already knew about Purim, and they had called it Mordecai's Day also. All right, so go from there. Now go, and we'll close out with that. The rest of Esther in the Apocrypha, the rest of chapter 10. Now go there, and we'll end it. No, we got one more after that. One more after that. Yeah, read that.
Then Mordecai said, God hath done these things, for I remember a dream.
So now, remember, we opened up with the dream. Those of y'all that was watching from the beginning, you know. Those of y'all that came on later, you can go back to the beginning. The entire story of Esther and Purim was showed to Mordecai in a dream before it even happened. And why did the Most High show it to Mordecai? Because he was going to be a key player in the deliverance of our people. All right, so go ahead.
Which I saw concerning these matters, and nothing thereof hath failed. A little fountain became a river, and there was light, and the sun, and much water. This river is Esther, whom the king married and made queen.
Right, so Esther represents the little fountain that became a great river. She was a little, little Hebrew girl, but she rose to being the queen. All right, go ahead.
And the two dragons are I and Haman.
So the two dragons in Mordecai's dream represent him and Haman. The dragons represent also like fierce warriors, right? Like two fierce warriors going at each other. Because Mordecai had his position and then Haman had his position. So they represent the two dragons. Right, go ahead.
And the nations were those that were assembled to destroy the name of the Jews.
The nations are the nations that was together with Haman, that hated Israel and wanted to destroy us. Come on.
And my nation is this Israel.
And my nation. Look at all these possessive sayings that they're doing. Mordecai, Judas Maccabees, my people, my nation, my citizens, my countrymen, my seed. Is nothing wrong with being for your own people. Stop making a damn, letting the white man and the other nations make you feel guilty because you want to be for you and your own people. All right, go ahead.
And my nation is this Israel, which cried to God and were saved. For the Lord hath saved his people, and the Lord hath delivered us from all those evils. And God hath wrought signs and great wonders, which have not been done among the Gentiles.
Come on.
Therefore hath he made two lots.
He made two destinations. He made two fates. Par-yum. Lots, plural. Go ahead.
One for the people of God.
He made a fate. We had our fate, which was to be delivered and saved. Go ahead.
And another for all the Gentiles.
For them to be destroyed. And the decree that they put out amongst us, for them to suffer that decree. Right, come on.
And these two lots came at the hour and the time.
And these two fates or destinations of these two different people, it came at the time. Go ahead.
And the day of judgment.
It came at the lot, the time, the hour, and the day of judgment. Go ahead.
Before God among all nations.
Go ahead.
So God remembered his people and justify his inheritance. Therefore those days shall be unto them in the ninth, it's like in the month of Adar, the 14th and 15th day of the same month. with an assembly and joy, within gladness before God, according to the generations forever among his people.
Right, so basically what? It was an added feast day and day of celebration to the nation of Israel. All right, it says shall be added unto our calendar. All right, one more. Now go to the rest of the books of Esther, chapter 16, and start at 14. All right.
Okay, Esther
Page 57 in the red apocrypha, if y'all reading along. Esther 16 and 14, verses 1 through 13, y'all can read on your own. And that goes after chapter 8 and verse 12 in the Bible. So y'all got to understand the chronological order of how you go back and forth between the Bible and Apocrypha to read the story in chronological order. All right, it's tricky, but if you study it, you'll figure it out 1, 2, 3. Go ahead, brother. Esther 16, 14 in the
Esther chapter 16, verse 14. For by these means he thought, finding us destitute of friends, to have translated the kingdom of Persians to the Macedonians.
So now Mordecai is revealing Haman's original plot. Haman's original plot. Haman had the two chamberlains, Bigthan and Teresh, to try to assassinate the king so that the Macedonians or the Greeks can come into power earlier. That's Esau's spirit. Right? That's when they assassinate the presidents, everything, because they greedy for power. All right, so the Greeks had their time that Daniel prophesied they would come into power, but they were being greedy and wanted the kingdom beforehand. And they already had tension with the Persians. They had tension with the Persians. So Haman was really trying to have Xerxes assassinated so he can move the Greeks into power. All right, that was a major gist of the story also. All right, so this is what Mordecai is saying in this reversal of the decree to come upon the other nations. All right, so when y'all read all the other chapters, it'll fill in the blanks of the story. Good.
But we find that the Jews, whom this wicked wretch hath delivered to utter destruction, are no evildoers, but live by most just laws.
Right, and when you check it out, Mordecai called Haman a wicked wretch. And when you read the story of Nicanor, the Most High called Nicanor a wicked wretch also. So Esau, man, Esau's the devil that the Bible speaks of. Oh. 2 different time frames, 2 different Edomites, 2 different enemies of Israel, and the Most High called both of them a wicked wretch. All right, go ahead.
And that they be children of the Most High, and most mighty living God, who have ordered the kingdom both unto us and to our progenitors in the most excellent manner. Wherefore ye shall do well not to put in execution the letters sent unto you by Haman, the son of Ammedatha. For he that was the worker of these things is hung at the gates of Suzette, with all his family. God, who ruled all things, speedily rendering vengeance to him according to his deserts.
Right. See that? The Most High said, we quoted it earlier, Galatians 6 and 7. The Most High turned the judgment back upon Haman and his sons and the Edomites and the heathens' head. All right. And swiftly did it. All right. Come on.
Therefore ye shall publish the copy of this letter in all places, that the Jews may freely live after their own laws. And ye shall aid them, that even the same day, being the 13th day of the 12th month, Adar, they may be revenged on them, who in time of their affliction shall set upon them.
Right, so that 13th day, notice it keeps mentioning that 13th day in the story of Prim. But they ended up celebrating, they put in the work on the 13th day, and they ended up celebrating the 14th and 15th day. But then the Most High said, years later in the Greek Empire, I'm going to still take that 13th day and make it the destruction of Nicanor, another wicked Greek. Right? Come on.
For Almighty
and
God.
That became a celebration day, so it ended up being 3 days in a row. Right? The Most High's a mastermind. All right, come on.
For Almighty God hath turned to joy unto them the day wherein the chosen people shall have perished.
Right, we were supposed to be exterminated. The decree was already written by Xerxes, right through Haman. Come on.
Ye shall therefore among your solemn feasts.
It said, ye shall therefore, this is very important. For those of y'all that say it's not in Leviticus 23, we don't have to celebrate that. What did the Most High say? Read it again.
Ye shall therefore among your solemn feasts.
You shall therefore among your solemn feasts, your sincere and grave and solemn days. Come on.
Keep it.
What did the Lord say?
Keep it.
No, it's not Leviticus 23.
Keep it.
We don't have to follow it.
Keep it.
It said keep it. Come on.
And high day.
And high day. So it's a feast day, Israel is amongst our solemn high feast days. Go ahead.
With all feasting.
With all what?
With all feasting.
Come on.
To both now and hereafter, they may be safety to us, and well afflicted Persians. But to those which do conspire against us as a memorial of destruction, thereof every city and country.
It says, Salakia, to those which, Salakia, conspire against us a memorial of destruction. So what was the Most High saying? To us is a time of celebration. But to those that conspired against us and their children and their generations, it was a memorial of your destruction.
All praises.
All right, all praises, right? Go ahead.
Therefore every city and country whatsoever which shall not do according to these things shall be destroyed without mercy.
Say, listen, whoever don't respect these feast days and go against it, let them be destroyed without mercy. Right? Come on.
With fire and sword.
With fire and sword. Listen, go in that city, kill them, slay them, take the spoil, and then burn that city down. All right, come on.
And shall be made not only unpassable for men, but also most hateful to wild beasts.
See
and
that?
fowls.
So, go ahead, Salaki.
Forever.
Forever. So, Mordecai laid it down, man. He said, listen, whoever don't respect this decree, any city, any town, any village that don't accept this decree, let it be destroyed, spoil it, burn it down with the sword, and let it never be inhabited again. So I read this to show you, therefore shall we keep it. It got added to our solemn feast days. So now what? You don't co-sign to the Apocrypha? That's what you're saying? If it ain't in Leviticus 23, okay, so you don't co-sign to the Apocrypha. So then don't celebrate Hanukkah, which a lot of you probably don't anyway. That's not Leviticus 23. I don't follow that. Well, don't follow it. That's on you. You ain't even got to tell me you don't follow it. A lot of y'all was doing that during Hanukkah. You was running your mouth. We was putting up Happy Hanukkah posts and different things, and you putting your 2 cents in it. What is that? That's not Torah. All right then. Why do you need to tell me that? Just don't keep it and mind your business. What do you need to make a comment about it for? All right? Just don't keep it and don't say nothing. But that's how Israel is, man. A disobedient and gainsaying people.
Over righteous.
Overright. What is that? That's not Torah. If you're not going to follow it, then don't follow it. What are you having a damn conniption fit with me because I choose to follow it? You know what I'm saying? So that's that. So for those that don't co-sign or whatever, that's on you. But it's in the law. I mean, it's in the stories there. It's in the Apocrypha. It's in the books. It became, the Most High added it as a feast day to the calendar of Israel. You don't want to follow it? That's on you. You don't follow it. All right? So that's it on that. All praise to Yahweh B'Shem Mashiach Yahushua. Hallelujah. All right. We're going to get ready to pray out and eat, drink, and be merry. HOI-Prim. All right. Happy Purim. 2021, Most High, let us see another Purim. We live to see another Purim. All praises. You know, there's a lot going on, man. A lot of affliction, a lot of death amongst Israel. You know, just coming back to back, man. So we gotta just thank the Most High and praise Him that He's allowing us to endure.
That's right.
You know, to see another Purim. May some of our fellow brothers and sisters rest in peace, and Most High will we see them on the chariots and in the kingdom. All right, unless we get spiritual power to resurrect them now. You know, Most High allow us to bring them back. You know, but it's all up to the Most High. Kind?
Okay.
Yeah. got back east, man. We lost like 3-4 people, man. Like 3 sisters and a brother, and just crazy, man. You know, I get a chance to go to none of the funerals because this COVID thing, you know. So you know, it's happening, man. Paul said, "Therefore, many among you is sick, and many sleep, because we still under these curses." You know, so you got people sick, you got people passing away, even in the truth. You know, so there's no guarantee because you're serving the Most High that you will escape these curses, man. You know, it's on us as a nation. You know, so hallelujah. Any questions or comments? All right, so read the rest of the story of Prim. Beautiful story, you know what I'm saying? The way the Most High turned things around. Read those 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th chapters. There's a lot of meat, a lot of information in those chapters. I wish we could have got to them, but it would have been, you know, for the sake of time, it's a weeknight, whatever the case may be. You know, we do want to have some time to fellowship, you know, because we could have been here till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, you know, breaking all the intricate details of the story down. All right, so if no questions or comments, sister come out, we're going to pray out. Let me get my damn shirt. That's about the shirt. I'll be right back.
Okay. Pause it.
In prayer, eat, drink, and be merry. Come here, Shabbat. All right, everybody shout. Imagine we're praying at Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem or the east for prayer, closing prayer for Prim 2021. All right. Salakia. Hallelujah.
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 Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Hashem.
Hashem.
Mashiach.
Mashiach.
Yahweh Shai.
Yahweh Shai.
Rak Nawa.
Rak Nawa.
Yashala.
Yashala.
Wahabi Yasapaya.
Yasapaya.
Shema.
Shema.
Yasharallah.
Yashala.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Alahayana.
Ayahayam.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Acha. Shema.
Shema.
Yasharallah.
Yashala.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Alahayana.
Ayahayam.
Yahweh.
Yahweh. Acha.
Shema.
Shema.
Yasharallah.
Yashala.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Alahayana.
Ayahayam.
Yahweh.
Yahweh. Acha.
Shema.
Shema.
Yasharallah.
Yashala.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Alahayana.
Ayahayam. Yahweh.
Hail, O Israel, Yahweh, power Yahweh is one. Deuteronomy 6, verse 4, Creed of Israel. Hallelujah.
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 All right, sisters come up. Anoint it. Right there. All right, anointing prayer, y'all know the routine. You know the routine. Pray over y'all, ask the Most High to bless you. Anything you're going through, mentally, spiritually, physically, financially, emotionally, ask the Most High to make you a better sister, mother, wife, overall woman in His truth. Ask for more patience, more understanding, more love, more humility, more respect for your fellow brothers and sisters, and just to be a better child of the Lord. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
We say an anointing prayer, number 6, 22 to 27. In the ancient Paleo Hebrew tongue, when we finish, we go right to left. Say your name 3 times and receive your anointing. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Michael Ward, repeat after me. Yabaraki Yahweh. Waishamaka. Ya'al Yahweh. Panyawa. Al Yaka. Wayachanka. Yasha'al Yahweh. Panyawa. Al Yaka. Wayashamlaka. Shalom. Yahweh. Ba'ashem. Hamashiach. Yahushua. Babakusha. Shema. Nawa. Aita. Shalak. Ma'aka'ala. Walahim. La. Shema'el. Barak. Rapah. Izah. Magun. Kazak. Atazayah. Kwawa. Danielle. You say it with me. Zara. Katharia. Zanai. Zamora. Zakara. Karima. Cole. Akim. No. Cole. Akim. Cole. Aquafium. Cole. Bunyum. Yasha'ala. Ba'ashem. Hamashiach. Yahushua. The water. The yard. Avalon. Hallelujah. Brothers, come on up and receive your blessing. Sisters, be seated. We're still in prayer mode. Please keep silence. No movement. It'll be over in a few minutes. We're still in prayer. No. Same thing, anointing prayer, number 6, 22 to 27. Brothers ask the Most High to make you stronger, more in the spirit, a better father, son, brother, over all man of the Most High. Humility, discipline, order, respect, and just overall a better man of the Lord. Hallelujah. All right, repeat after me, Makawar. Anointing prayer again. Number 6, 22 to 27 in the ancient Paleo Hebrew. Yabaraki Yahweh, Wayashamaka, Ya'al Yahweh, Panyawa, Al Yaka, Wayachanka, Yasha'al Yahweh, Panyawa, Al Yaka, Wayashamlaka, Shalom, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Hamashiach, Yahushua, Babakusha, Shema, Nawa, Aita, Shalak, Ma'aka'ala, Walahim, La, Shema'el, Barak, Rapah, Izah, Magun, Kazak, Atazayah, Kwawa, Yashuan, Rob Judah, Zakari, Makawar, Zabak, Cole, Akim, Cole, Aquafium, Cole, Bunyum, Yasha'ala, Ba'ashem, Hamashiach, Yahushua, the water, the yard, Avalon, Hallelujah. Come here, all right, everybody rise, face the east again, pray for the food and the drink.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Hashem.
Hashem.
Mashiach.
Mashiach.
Yahushai.
Baruchah. Barak. Nawa. Ma'akol.
Wa. Shata. Wa. Yayan.
Wa.
Kazak.
Shata.
Barak. Nawa. Kag.
Hayam.
Baruchah. Ba'ashem. Mashiach.
Yahushai.
The
The water.
Yah.
Yah.
Avalam.
Hallelujah.
Blessed O Most High Yahweh, Ba'ashem Mashiach Yahushai. Thank you for the food and the drink that we're about to receive, Most High. Thank you and bless our Purim feast, Most High, Kag Paryam. And thank you for nourishing our minds, body, and souls forever and ever. Ba'ashem Mashiach Yahushai. Hallelujah.
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 Sisters, turn to the brothers and salute each other. Just repeat after me if you don't know it. Akim Yasha Allah, Amajim, Barak, Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Ba'ashem,
Ba'ashem,
Mashiach,
Mashiach,
Yahushai,
Yahushai,
Shema Thun.
Shema.
Sisters, Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Ba'ashem,
Ba'ashem,
Mashiach,
Mashiach,
Yahushai,
Yahushai,
Shema Thun.
Shemata.
Most High, in the name of Yahushai, watch over you. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Come here, Shalom.
Go ahead,
Turn
Shalom.
to each other. Akim Yasha Allah, Amajim, Barak, Yahweh Hashem Yahushai Barakatam, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Mashiach, Yahushai, Barakatam. Come here, Shalom. Come here, Shalom. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Barakata Yahweh. Barakata Yahushai. Barakata Yahweh. Barakata Yahushai. Barakata Yahweh. Barakata Yahushai. Ba'ashem. Mashiach. Yahushai. Come here, Shalom. Shalom. We got more chants than we got next in Chariots Fly. We got plenty of chants. Everybody, Ashar, Paryam. Come here, Ashar. Happy Purim 2021. All praise to Yahweh Ba'ashem Mashiach Yahushai. Come here, Ashar. Good service. Shalom, brothers and sisters on the live. Hope y'all enjoyed the service. If y'all learned one thing tonight, we've done our job. All praise to Yahweh Yahushai. Come here, Ashar. All right, if y'all learned something y'all didn't know already, put a con 777. Kwame Yashala.
Want to close up the YouTube?
Shalom, Kwame Yashala, Shah Payam, Happy Purim, Day 2, closing 2021. Shalom.
Shalom.